Hello. We are here. We are live.
Just
we are
about.
present.
Yeah.
You are present.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Have you mic? You have mic'd. Good.
Yes.
Yes.
It's hidden. It's invisible.
It's discreet.
Yes.
Very good.
Compact. For your anyway.
007.
Receive money on a piece of paper.
Airmail. Awesome. Cool. Excellent.
We're running the coffee machine.
Yes.
I thought I'd click go live so I could talk to you, the wonderful viewers at home, and also so you know, we wouldn't get a wall of, you're late.
We'd get a wall of that even if we weren't late.
We get a wall of that even when we're on time.
Yeah.
Also, lunch.
Yeah. Right. Gotta love websites that just do exactly what they say, you know? Very good.
I thought for a second the web address was upside down and you were trying to decipher it until you went,
I can't read this. I can't read. I'm going to put that over there. All right.
I don't know what this means. It's in Swahili. Oh, it's in foreign.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Two Guys Talk Tech. It is the 1st of June, which should be illegal because
What's wrong with the 1st of June?
we're halfway through the year, basically.
I mean, yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah. That should be illegal.
I see.
But we're here. So yes, we're going to talk about speccing PCs today because I've got yeah. But hey, you know, people like talking about speccing PCs. It's a popular topic, so we're going to do it every now and then. Also, I've got a PC that I need to spec for a customer. Pretty loose, you know, just like what can we build for like sort of 500 or 600 quid, basically. And also I've started piecing together. I think this is the last of my AM4 gear here. It's the last of my X570 Strix boards. Didn't have a CPU in it. I bought a 5700X for it this week for the princely sum of £100 or something like that. I picked it up secondhand on eBay. I can't remember how much I paid for it.
Nice.
What did I pay?
Hopefully about £100.
Yeah, it might have been a bit more than that. I think I can't remember. I need to test that at some point because I've dropped it in the board, but we need to just turn that on and make sure it works. But past that, I also then want to just spec up the rest of a PC for this. So throw in a cooler. I don't think I've got any like even mid-range graphics cards lying around now. So we're gonna have to get a graphics card for it. So yeah, basically I just need to spec up the rest of that.
I mean, not for this explicitly, but don't you still have a 5600 XT somewhere?
Yeah, I think so, yes. Yes, I do. There's a Gigabyte one kicking around somewhere. I don't think I'd put that in this. I think I'd put that in a lower spec machine. But
now, yes, absolutely. But I was just saying, don't you still have that somewhere?
Yeah.
And two 1060s?
I was going to say there's probably another, I think, you know what, I think there might be a 1070 as well, actually.
And a random 1080 and
a partridge in a pear tree. Oh no, yeah, the 1070's gone apparently.
There's a 980.
Yeah, that still needs fixing. Whatever.
I mean, progress on the 980. Dave went outside yesterday.
Yes, as a special treat. Yeah.
As a special treat. He even wore clothes.
Yeah. I saw that in conversation, and it's just like this adds credence to the theory that he's just naked all the time, but he's just angled his webcam to always cut off at the neck and down, you know.
No one knows what's going on under the bench.
Precisely. Anyway.
Oh look, a 4090.
Yeah.
No, that's me, not Graham Sharp.
Right. Okay, right. I'm going to read the chat as a special treat.
This is my spreadsheet computer. It has a 4090 in it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want poor Google Sheets performance. Isn't the 1st of July halfway? Probably, but we're nearly there. Anyway.
Whoa.
600 quid is a tight budget. Yeah, it's probably going to involve some like this might turn into said £500 or £600 computer. That might be a vehicle for me to just shunt this.
Dead?
No, there were 4 of them originally.
Yes.
the dead one and another working one is kicking around somewhere. I think the working
one is in my computer in the office.
What, just one?
Yes.
Oh, that's where it is then. The dead one went in the bin, I think.
Very good.
Yeah, because it was dead. And we already established that we couldn't RMA these, so I was just
and I needed a random stick of RAM, and I said, what is your least helpful stick of RAM?
Yeah.
And you went, this one from an unmatched pair.
Yeah. So, yes.
I was like, excellent, I will take this one unhelpful RAM stick.
There's something kind of funny about the bling of a single G-Skill Trident Z in a computer on its own. Like, the weirdest flex ever, you know?
In an MSI B460 board.
Athlon 200GE, you know?
No, with an i3 9200 or
Fair
something.
enough.
Or like 9300,
Yeah.
yes.
Hello, Paul. How you doing? All right. What value for a...
I randomly got recommended one of Paul's videos from several years ago about how do I get 60 FPS in OBS. I was just like, what?
I see.
I was so confused because it didn't tell me it was an old video. It inferred it was a brand new upload. And I was like, what do you mean, how do you get 60 FPS working in OBS?
Yeah, that's the thing about YouTube is some content just doesn't really age, so it doesn't particularly matter if it's an old video. Whereas there's certain other content where it's, especially in tech content, whereas when it's an old video, it is just not relevant. So it's just like, why? Yeah, I don't know. But
I was very confused.
back watching does, back catalogue does account for a reasonable amount of viewership. So it's certainly nothing to sniff at, you know. There's certainly, at any given time, a YouTube channel is probably picking up maybe a quarter, somewhere between 25 and 50% of its views are probably coming from people watching the back catalogue. So, like, you know, your current videos are the bulk of it, but the back catalogue, it does do work for people, so, yeah.
Oh, apparently it's only 18 months old.
Oh. I'm sorry for inferring that your videos were no longer relevant. So, yeah. But setting up OBS is still important, though, so, yeah. Right. Right, rolling back a bit, Retro Anu said, what's the value of a 1660 Ti, Ryzen 3600, ASRock B250, 32 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD, and a standard window case. So it's going to depend on where you are. When trying to set a value on a PC, my rule of thumb is check the local Facebook marketplace and check eBay for something of a similar spec and see what other people are selling something like that for. Then I would also look at, I would then, so let's say you find something of that kind of spec for, I don't know, £300. I would then say, okay, now let's work in the other direction. Let's say I've got £300. What's the best I can find for £300? And see if you can do any better than that. Because if you can find something that's way better for £300, that then means that 300 wasn't a real price in the first place. So basically, I look at what other people are trying to sell that computer for, and then I check if their price is realistic. And I kind of come to a midpoint somewhere in the middle of those two things.
You do end up at a slightly awkward point though, where there is just a minimum price on stuff, just because functioning computer has a value of £100.
Yeah.
And a £100 functioning computer could be a Pentium 4, or it could be a second-gen core kind of thing.
And also, when you push down too low, it also you go down to a floor where it becomes worth more as a computer than its monetary value. You know, if I had a, you know, if a computer's got a weird spec and it ends up being worth 50 quid, you're probably like, well, I'd rather just have a spare computer that I could just give to someone than 50 quid that's just going to immediately disappear in petrol money. So, yeah. Sai says, just had a customer come in that's seen £1,000 for a 4060 5500 from Cyberpower.
That seems
no
bad.
Something's gone terribly wrong there.
Is the AMD 5500 the one that's also missing half of the cache?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's an APU, which means it's going to have a rubbish cache anyway, because all the APU.
5500 isn't an APU because they've disabled the graphics part on it.
Oh,
but
okay.
I can't remember if it's a monolithic one that has no cache, or if it's actually just a really garbage 5600.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge difference between the two, which is unfortunate and annoying.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll have to have a look.
Yeah, cool.
Oh yeah, 5600 with half cache, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 3060.
3600, yeah.
3600.
Yeah.
Like numbers.
I mean, 3600 in performance, that's not diabolical, because the 3600 was a great CPU.
But
However,
it does mean it's slower than current gen consoles.
yeah, it sure as hell shouldn't be paired with a 4060 and a 4-figure price tag. And, 999 is $1,000. So, yeah. That's like a... I don't know how much the 4060... How much is a 4060? Because I was going to say...
Probably £400.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Because it's a 4060.
I was about to say...
And people keep buying them at £400.
I have a feeling that the 4060 is just ridiculously inflating the price of that. Like, that should be a £500 PC kind of thing. But the 4060 is blowing the price out of the water. And so it's just like, yeah, you paired it with a stupid graphics card, and now it's now the price tag on it is vastly inflated over what it's actually worth. Let's see, Nvidia 4060. 4060 vanilla is 280 quid.
Okay,
Yes,
that's entirely
not
tolerable.
Yeah. Either way, there's no planet where that can all add up to $1,000 unless you're, sticking in like a £300 profit or something bonkers like that.
Yeah, and like, I understand you work for £7.
Yeah, I know.
But the rest of us.
Yeah. PCIe 3.
Something cloth on every bench.
Yeah-ish. Something like that.
It's like, how have I got this much food on the laptop I haven't used since it was on this bench?
You are live, and it is Saturday. You are live, they are live. And you have already been the victim of our jokes. Hi, Moeto.
You are already a victim.
How are you doing? Is this the day that Caramel tells me his RAM model in the MacBook?
Oh, I mean, if you want. What size are these?
00. Oh no, you got the P2, the P5s on there. There should be one in the iFixit toolkit. However, I might have stolen it though, actually, so I'm going to walk over here and get my one just in case.
Very well.
Because actually, I think I have stolen it.
There's a Pentalobe P2 here.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
what you
too
said
small.
you wanted?
Nope.
I misunderstood the words you said.
I said P2, then I corrected to P5.
Okay.
I think the P5 is missing from there because I broke a P5 and stole that one.
I see. Okay. I also should. Yes.
Is Muerto threatening to put 64 gigs of RAM in your MacBook?
Yeah, basically.
Why though?
Because he wants to.
Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like it's a pretty Chad move, but it's also a weird flex. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm also way more interested in the, what was it, A2119 or something like that. That needed a new SSD.
Were they good jokes? They're about you buying clothes, and the fact that you were buying clothes means there's a non-zero chance that you're just perpetually naked. So yeah.
Are these all the same?
Right. Just try and keep my senses together to not buy an i3 11th gen Lenovo Tiny for €300 as a Surf PC. I mean, €300
What?
for just a modern-ish PC is not too shabby.
Hey, programmers in the UK.
Fair enough. Progress on something else. What's the project today? We're going to spec up some PCs. So yes, I'm not doing more slimes because A, people are sick of watching me build slimes, even though I've got like another 4 sets to build, and B, I've run out of microcontrollers, so I'm waiting for AliExpress.
What does he want? Oh, it's LPDA. Of course it's LPDA.
Okay. So yes, we're going to start looking at PCs instead. I'm going to grab a power supply and try and fire this up because I bought a 5700X for this and I want to find out if it works. So yeah, let's see. How old's the MacBook? They don't light up anymore. This is a 2012. This thing, which is why it's a weird flex to upgrade the RAM in it. But Muerto is insane, so you know, that's a thing. Imagine if you had a 999 build to make. Well, you know what? We'll do that later on. Whenever we do these streams of speccing PCs, I like to say, let's do a low-cost build for people who don't have a lot of money, a mid-range, which is probably going to come in at about $1,000. You know, the kind of PC that most people are looking to build. So like $1,000 to $1,200, and then let's do a high-spec PC just for the lulz and just see what a high-spec looks like, you know. It's not a 24. It's an early 24. It's like hang on a minute. It's like the first ever Retina. It's an A1398. So these days it's MacOS classes it as a 2013. But it was the late 2012 release, like the first Retina. So yeah.
There's now a piece of dust in it.
Yeah, and just like, it's a weirdly pristine example as well. Or it was until Caradog dropped it last week.
Yep.
Sag.
Model A1494. According to this.
That's the battery.
Yes. The guy, yes.
Cool. Right.
Oh yeah, there's the board number.
Don't forget the US 25% import tax kicks in on the 15th of June, so prices are due to increase as UK prices are generally based on dollar prices. Gross. Yeah, that's going to suck. We'll see how that pans out. I hope they kind of... surely they'll do something to normalise that cost, because a 25% hike on all prices, that's kind of insanity, you know. So
have you got a tool to kind of
pair of pliers,
flatter? Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
But a big enough pair.
Yep.
As opposed to, you know, electronics sized.
Yeah. Well, these ones will normally do that. These are flat, so they tend not to bite the metal too much. Although you will generally leave marks, but it's better to be straight with marks on it than be pristine but not be straight and not fit properly. So, yeah.
I'm being good. No.
Okay.
Anyway, specking computers.
Indeed. All right. Could you spec a workstation? Oh, I've got no idea with workstations.
Yeah, you buy a Lenovo Threadripper.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, I would say Threadripper, but like I have no idea. Threadrippers are a complete unknown to me. I've not looked at models. I mean, we could talk about that.
Yeah.
We could.
That was not me being entirely flippant. That was it's just a case of you basically just buy a modern Lenovo Threadripper, unless your workload is specifically faster on Sapphire Rapids.
Yeah. Sapphire Rapids is Xeon, right?
Yeah. The Workstation edition.
Yeah. Yep. Fair enough. Yeah. If it's an 820 3332, best check if it's had the U8900 fix.
It is a 8203662-03. The board number.
Oh yeah, 03. Oh.
820-3662-03.
I've not seen that formatting before.
And whomever was asking if it's had work done, no, it has had nothing ever.
It's completely stock, this thing, apart from a replacement
the battery now.
Yeah. Is Lion the operating system on that MacBook? It probably would have been back in the day, but like no, it's not running Lion in the year 2024.
It's running Big
Catalina?
Sur.
Big Sur. Did it go all the way up to Big Sur? That's
This
not
one
bad.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember us talking about this 3 months ago, and you being like, what the hell?
I was going to say, I think every time you say it's got Big Sur on it, I'm like, how has the 2012 got Big Sur on it? It just aged weirdly well.
Because it's technically not a 2012, I think, is the answer to that.
Yeah. Weird. Okay. Ryzen 5 is Ryzen 5000 still a good option for a budget setup? Newish 5700X3D looks good value.
Yes.
I would agree with that. Like AM4 is quote unquote obsolete in a sense of like.
I pinched myself with the laptop into the desk on, on the pad of my little finger, so it was just kind of
yes.
It caught me by surprise.
Conceal, don't feel. Yep. Yes, Ryzen 5000 is still relevant. I would call it obsolete, but that's a kind of mean-spirited, I think. But because it is still relevant on account that they're still great performing CPU. That like they're technically only one generation out of date, so it's still a great performing series of CPUs. And because like the 5800X3D, the 5800X3D is still an incredibly competitive CPU. And the 5700X3D is no doubt not far behind because that massive cache is just monstrous.
Single percentages from memory.
Oh, that's not bad then. So yeah. So that being the case, 5700X3D is still going to give you very competitive CPU performance today. The only drag is that it's effectively a dead end because the only thing up from that is going to be a 5800X3D for gaming. And that wouldn't be a meaningful upgrade anyway. So this is the thing. It's great value, it's great performing, but it's a dead end for upgrades. And I know that future-proofing is a very dangerous word, but it's up to you, basically. You can go into it and it will be low cost, but it will be a dead end. That being said, the only way
Same as buying Intel.
I was going to say, the only way to not have a dead end would be to go up to Ryzen 7000 on the assumption that you would be able to upgrade to an 8000 or 9000 series later on down the line when they're released. But this also begs the question, how many people actually upgrade their systems? And the answer to that is really not many.
Yeah.
Most people are probably going to buy a new CPU motherboard combo when they actually get around to upgrading it. So upgrade is arguably irrelevant anyway.
From memory, based off of Hardware Unboxed community tab questioning, it was something like 40% of AM4 owners did an in-socket CPU upgrade when they asked like 2 years ago. Which was surprising.
AM4 had like a 5-year lifespan.
Oh yeah. So but just a case of so it's if we see a similar lifespan on AM5, we might see a similar percentage again.
Yes, I get you now. Yeah, because I think what some part of the reason why no one upgrades is because until AM4 came along, it just wasn't actually a thing that you could feasibly do.
Oops.
So, yeah, watch it. They're delicate. So yes. JD asks, Garilog, do I get my brother to import me a 5600X3D?
Oh.
I mean, why would you instead of a 57 or 5800X3D?
Yeah, depends on cost.
Yeah.
I think is the answer to that.
Yeah. 5600X is meh. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
But, yeah.
The other thing to bear in mind... Sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say, yeah, it depends on pricing. Because obviously, like, if you can get a 5600X for the correct price, then absolutely that's a better buy. But if you can't get one for the correct price or close to the correct price, then I wouldn't.
Yeah. It's also worth bearing in mind that all of this is, like, when I say the 5600X is fine and such, that's assuming that you're getting it at a sensible price. And also... it's assuming that it is part of a balanced diet. I mean, a balanced spec.
Yeah.
So if you're if you're building with a 5600X, presumably you're building a cost-conscious system. Not necessarily budget, but cost-conscious. So you're probably going to have a low or mid-range graphics card in there. And also, and especially because the vast majority of people are GPU bound anyway. This is the thing, is you're probably GPU bound in most of your application, in most of your games. So CPU is not that important unless you're aiming for esports frame rates, or you're running, really top-end graphics and the CPU actually starts becoming a bottleneck. And if you're running a top-end graphics card, then why are you fitting a 5600X anyway? So that's the thing, is just the mid-range CPUs are fine on the assumption that you're using them as part of a mid-range system. Again, it's all about balance. Most things are fine when they are in balance. So yeah.
Sorry, the way the results were laid out inferred that from Google there was Google inferred that there was a micro center in Wincanton because of the way that they had laid out the results.
That'd be news to me.
Yeah,
I'd support that.
Because I searched micro center and then it went map results Wincanton, and I was like, how is that relevant?
Man, imagine if Micro Center just casually opened a branch in Wincanton. That'd be awesome. Wincanton is not that far from where we are, so it's just like, hell yeah, time to hit up the A303 westbound for once.
Yeah.
No one goes that way because the only thing down there is Yeovil, and no one wants to go to Yeovil.
It's a dark place, Simba. Where is
we won't get the same lifespan on AM5. I wouldn't have thought so, no. AM4, well, aside from the fact that AM4 is still kicking because AMD keep finding old AM4 silicon and releasing another chip.
Yeah, it's also because they're still making AM4 equivalent CPUs for Epic.
Yeah,
and they're just having to continually downbin stuff from that.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, the other thing, we're unlikely to see AM5 have the same longevity just because of how much of a silicon layout ball ache getting 5000 series on AM4 apparently was. So apparently an awful lot of the internal tracing was a complete mess in AM5 because of the prefixed pin layout because of going into the AM4 socket. So apparently that was a complete pain.
Interesting.
So yes.
Yeah.
Where is...
Understandable. Right.
Birmingham.
You'll be doing a 3400G to a 5700G on your wife's machine next year. It's a B450 board. Yeah, that would make sense. Assuming no graphics card in that.
I think I misheard those numbers because that doesn't make sense.
Oh,
yes. That's fine.
Yep.
I didn't hear 5700 and was confused. There, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I
was looking for if there were micro centers. Yes, in Michigan, and there are.
I see. All right.
So it depends then on whether they have 5600s, because I might be able to get one cheaper.
Cool. Right, I'm going to grab a power supply and fire this thing up and just see if it works, just so I can find out if I'm going to try and complete this. I was going to order a bunch of bits just to actually complete it, so we could actually assemble it today, but I forgot. So I've got a case I'm going to put it in. I'm going to lob it in. I've got a
Chicago.
I've got a Game Max Airhawk down there that will be perfectly fit for purpose. So I'm going to put it in there, but I don't have a power supply for it, and I don't have a cooler for it, and I don't have a graphics. Well, we could put any graphics card in for the time being. I don't have enough to be worth actually starting to build it, basically. But yeah. Anyway, let's see if it actually works as a special treat. Is there a fan humming in the background? Yes, there's a the fan is going. I'm surprised that's yeah. God, I keep stumbling my words today. I'm surprised that the fan is bleeding through that much. It does get kind of burr, I guess, if that makes sense.
Fine.
I might just turn off the oscillation on it just so it's not panning. That will probably reduce the background noise a little bit.
Or at least annoyance of it.
Yeah.
Make it more contiguous?
Yes.
Continuous.
I'm going to go and put the phone somewhere else so it's not ringing away in my ears.
Wait, what? Oh, apparently there's a Charing Cross in Detroit.
America just stole all of our place names.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't steal this one, at least not as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Because this one is Big Beaver.
I see.
I was just like, okay.
Yeah. It's not like the UK. It's not like England. We didn't steal things. We didn't steal anything. All right. That's a face. Right. Okay. Power supply.
They're people now.
Whoop. Keyboard and mouse. I need a cooler so it doesn't explode. Whoop. I'm going to need a graphics card as well.
Something emails checking. Yes.
CPU fan. Put that there. Whoop. Put that there. And let's find that graphics card.
Oh dear.
5600 XT. Yeah. It'd be good to keep testing this card anyway. I'm not sure how much I trust this card. I'm sure at some point it was giving me trouble and strife. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure if this is an intermittently working card. So it would be good to just keep getting an okay on this graphics card as well. Just so I know I can actually put it in something.
Ah! Noises!
Who's got Discord notification sounds on?
Me! Oops. What did you say you put in there? 5700?
5600. Oh, 5700X.
Yeah.
And 5600 XT.
5700X. Choose a motherboard.
Right.
What is this? This is a
Actual
Strix.
post. X570F.
Yeah.
Power
Strix.
on. And HDMI. Oh.
Apparently there was a B350F gaming. Huh.
Yeah, sounds about right. Thank you. Thank you.
What is the RAM?
16 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
It's probably 3600. Yeah, 3600.
Cool.
Right, we're on the DRAM light. CPU. Oh, look at that. First try. Oh, it's RAM training, but it did actually cycle through the LED, so it's going to go. Huzzah.
None of you are interesting, so I will buy the cheapest.
Lovely. It has posted. Good.
Error. No CPU installed. What?
Well, also it is actually a 5700X, which is always worth checking. Like, that's what it was written on the chip, but Chinese people be crazy, man. So now BIOS flash it. I think this board is already pretty up to date because this board has been in use on and off for the past couple of years. But yeah, it's also why I need to sell it. It's a nice board, but also, I mean, yeah. I think, as I say, I wonder if we could spec this up into like a 600 quid system, because Caradog is currently on PC Part Picker specking up basically this system.
What size of 1 terabyte?
1 terabyte, yeah.
1 terrible byte.
Yeah, because like, yeah, you can't sell a computer with less than you can't sell a gaming rig with less than a terabyte of storage because they're just going to immediately run out. And it's not like you're going to put a hard drive in there, so you may as well put a 1 terabyte SSD in there. Do.
Kioxia Exerta G2 or Kingston MV2?
I'd take the Kioxia. Don't like Kingston SSDs. I know some of them are okay, but just, I don't know, Kingston always seem cheap.
And then we're basically just putting in the cheapest viable graphics card.
Yeah, so what are we going for graphics card then? 6650X or 6700 XT?
We are checking.
Yeah. What's about these days? You got a license for that terabyte there, mate. You got a permit for that license.
License. What do I want? 3060?
Right.
4060?
Yeah, how much? 3060. 3060 is like the same price as a 4060. Although, doesn't the 3060 have more RAM?
It depends.
VRAM, sorry, because there's
as long
a 12 gig.
As long as you get the 12 gig one,
Yeah.
yes, as opposed to the potato.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Is it kind of means that in certain applications the 3060 is better than the 4060, which is kind of ridiculous.
Right. The thing to double check will be if a 6650 XT is worth £35 more than a 6600. Basically.
Okay.
Because a 6600 is 192.
Right, so Gamers Nexus 6650 XT. Bam. Oh. Show me the video because that's quicker to pan through. Pause, mute. Alright. So what I like to do when comparing graphics cards is I basically will just Google search Gamers Nexus that graphics card, because they're going to have a bunch of graphs with a bunch of graphics cards that are in that general band. So 6600 XT.
Yeah, based off of the.
Oh, I don't have the 6650 XT. That's what I was heckin' searching for.
Based on Tech Power Up's table.
Yeah.
It's a 20% performance swing.
20%, not bad.
Yeah. Based on Tech Power Up's performance summary.
Yeah. Annoyingly, Gamers Nexus don't have the 6650.
Do they have the 7600 on there?
No, I think this is an old video. Yeah, this is 2022. Yeah, I'm looking at an old video.
Oh, just look at the. I was going to say, just look at YouTube. Google searching YouTube videos basically doesn't seem to work.
Yeah.
So I always just go onto the YouTube search itself. 6650 XT review Gamers Nexus.
Can you still buy a 6650?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I'm asking, just because I'm sorting by lowest price.
That's fair, yeah.
Oh, that's cost per frame. I don't want that. I want 10 game average. There you go. Oh, wow. I don't know how Tech Power Up got that performance difference. The performance difference is 5%.
Oh, yeah, that sounds more like it. I thought.
Oh, no, sorry. No, it's not. It's 19. Yeah, it's 19%. Between the 6600 and the 6650 XT. I was looking at the 6600 XT and the 6650 XT.
I see, yeah.
Which is why I was confused for a second there.
Very well.
Yes, 6600 to 6650 XT looks like 19 to 20%.
Yes, yeah. That's what Sai was basically saying.
Yeah, and I just failed to read and words.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yes, it's worth £25 on a £200 product because that's 12.5% price for 20% performance.
Yeah.
So it's better, quote unquote, value.
Yeah. So what does the 6650 XT go up against on the Nvidia front?
Price-wise or performance-wise?
Performance-wise.
Performance-wise,
Looks like
It's between a 3060 and a 3060 Ti.
Yeah.
So it'd be about a 40. So it'd be between a 4060 and a 4060 Ti.
yeah, that's incredibly reasonable for like 200 to 240 quid. Then I think that would be a good pairing for this CPU. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also we can probably find it slightly cheaper than 225.
If we shop around, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you add that onto the PC part picker list, we've got a 5700X combined with a 6650 XT. Also, just for humour's sake, how much is a 6700 XT? Actually, I'm going to answer that myself because I'm sitting on Amazon. 6700 XT. 6700 XT. Prices are a bit weird. Looks like closer to 300. If you're lucky. So, yeah.
279 second-hand.
Yeah.
eBay. Buy now.
So if you were building this PC for yourself, probably worth it. However, it depends on what's our price tag looking at the moment in PC Popular?
No idea. Haven't got that far yet.
Yeah.
Because we're missing too many components.
Oh, okay, yeah, because obviously
or pricing on too many components.
Yeah, because we're aiming for 600 quid on this build. So basically, we want to see if we can actually cram this into 600 quid. Yeah, 6800 XT is going to be too high. Yeah, because I mean, obviously we
it's
can.
going to be like 400.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like we can sit here and be like, well, a 6800 XT is faster. You know what's faster than that? A 4080. We could put a 4080 in it, but yeah, now the budget is just So that's the thing is it's very easy to say, oh, this is faster, but and there are certain things that are probably good value upgrades, but a good value. An upgrade might be good value for money, but that doesn't mean you can fit it in the budget. So, yeah. Non-XT 6800 is about 340. I didn't know there was a non-XT on the 6800.
It only got released in certain markets.
Ah, that'll be why then, yeah. But yeah, 360 is still 100 quid more than the other ones. So, yeah.
How much are you happy selling this board for? Because it's not in stock anywhere anymore, so I need to make up a price for it.
Okay, yeah.
What is it? Oh, it's an X570, not a B550.
Yeah.
So the cheapest X570 that is in stock is the cheapest X570S, because
Sure.
it's a smidge better. ASRock X570S PG Riptide is 145.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to price that at 145?
Yeah, easy, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Yeah, 145 would be the kind of price tag I would have in my brain for that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because like I would probably be willing to go lower than that.
But I'm starting at kind of this is realistically how much buying it would be.
Starting at an idealized price, and then if we're over budget, then or failing that, if we land on exactly 600 quid, and theoretically I've not got any profit margin built in, I'd be like, I'm still happy with that because I've sold product that I've got kicking around.
What price is that case?
It's
not to you. What price category is that case?
It's a GameMax RGB case. I'm going to say 60 quid. 50 quid, 60 quid, something like that.
Right, okay.
I find it very hard to believe that we can't find something
GameMax
similar.
Spectrum 54.99.
Sure, let's slap that in there as an equivalent example.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, just to find an equivalent case, because I'm almost certain we wouldn't find that one.
Yeah.
And then a power supply. Can you think of any reason why we'd need a ridiculous power supply for this?
I don't think so. I mean, I'd like to put in something that's 600 or better.
Really?
I mean, I suppose, yeah.
Fractal Design Iron Gold 550 was what I was going to suggest.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because that's like a 99% A+++ power supply.
That's fine then, yeah.
And it's the second cheapest gold rated currently on sale in the UK.
How much is that?
£65.
Oh my god, yeah. Considering we're already at 65, yeah, we're putting that in.
Yeah, £731.
Remember when you used to be able to? Remember when we could buy absolute banger power supplies for like 50 quid? You know.
Yeah, it's because the retailers were being sold 10,000 of them per GPU they purchased during the mining crisis.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is our price.
All right. Oh, 731. Okay, so we're currently massively over budget.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
we need to take price out. Basically, the places where I can realistically see us saving any price.
Before we continue, what cooling have you got factored into that?
None.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, we need to slap in a 20 quid air cooler as well.
Yeah.
You can air cool a 5700X, so that's fine. Yeah.
What we're going to do... the Peerless Assassin seems to have gone up. That's a shame.
No.
Yeah, it's now £34.
That's still nuts for how good it is. We need to slap in one of those cheap ones. I've forgotten what it was. We bought one of the... a while back when we were buying stuff, we bought another Peerless Assassin and we bought a cheap one that I put in the Corsair. And I want to buy more of those, but I can't remember which it was.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I'll have to watch the VOD. I'm sorry.
Banger P. Oh yeah, I did not. That my choice of words for banger PSU was poor there.
What do you want to stick in this? On this, because like you can stick an Arctic Freezer 7 for £24, or you can stick a Thermal Right Assassin King ARGB. It looks like that for £25. Oh,
that
same
looks
price.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer the thermal. I like the look of the thermal rights. The Arctic ones, unless I mean that's a Freezer 7.
Yeah.
So do they still sell this wretched thing?
Functionally, it's just got slightly more cowling around the front.
Yeah, because like don't get me wrong, this was a great cooler, but like it doesn't look good. It's absolutely hideous.
The only place we can reasonably take any price out is there is about £6 in the SSD we can take out. We can take out some money in the CPU, and we can take out some money in the graphics card.
Yeah. So.
And that's realistically our options for new.
Yeah. That much being said, so because like part of me is sort of going, oh god, how is it this expensive? But also, it's a nice mid-range build we've got cooking here. So I'm kind of tempted to say. I think we've spec'd an £800 PC here. And that's also a nice price point. That's because, like, when you start pushing up to £1,000, that's the point where you start, like, if you push up to £1,000, you're probably going to land at somewhere between 1,000 and 1,100. And at that point, you're like £300 above the £800 PC. So, to be honest, I'm kind of tempted to be like, okay, let's change the budget to 800 and fit into that and actually have profit built into it. And this means it's not going to work for my client who wants to spend 600 quid on a PC. Actually, or did he say 800? It doesn't matter. We're going to spec a 600 quid one anyway. But yeah, I think we should change the budget to 800 and fit it to that. And I think that it's going to make sense. Because there's no planet where we can cut this down to a £600 budget, not without making just zero money on anything and fire sailing the second-hand parts.
Yeah, you would need to move on to second-hand parts.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which is obviously absolutely fine, and you definitely could do that.
Yeah.
But just a statement of, yeah, that's what you'd need to do.
Yeah. So I think change the spec of this to 800 quid. And because then we can probably shuffle something in, maybe fit in the 6700 XT instead of the 6650, slap it all in there, and we've got a nice 800 quid build there that someone could buy, and they would have a modern, good-looking computer, and it would look pretty decent, I think. Did I ever buy the Ficwatt NVMe? I did, and it's in that PC behind us at the moment. I'm still doing testing on it because to really find out if it's any good, you've got to do a couple of write cycles, and I'm in the process of filling it up with customer backups. So far, it's been good. Credit where it's due. It's worked just fine. However, I've not really put it through its paces yet, because the first write cycle you do to an SSD is always going to be good because there's nothing on it. After it's done a couple of write cycles, that's when you actually find out if it's any good. So yes, don't forget to count in the labour and the others. Well, the operating system is irrelevant because it's £5 for a Windows license. So yeah, ain't nobody paying more than ain't no one paying more than a tenner for a Windows license. So that's basically irrelevant. And the labour, that's what I mean by the profit being built in, basically. And obviously I do want some profit built in, but also I'm eager to just sell parts that I've had in stock for a very long time, just so I can cycle stuff out. So yeah. Customer doesn't know that. Yes, this is true. Yeah.
Oh, are you DDR4 board?
I bought retail, transferable to other PC. Yeah, but who does that?
Fuck.
I sure as like you're not paying $90 for a Windows license, are you? Because also, like, remember, if I want to transfer it to another PC, I pay £5 again, and I just buy another license. Like, if you're paying retail price for a Windows license so you can transfer it, you're now working on the assumption that you're going to transfer it between the next 10 or 20 computers that you buy in order for that to actually be worthwhile.
Nah. Nope. Hacking. I can't see why we'd want more than 16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah. You get retail for $16 or so. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yep, that's fair.
Huh. What? Okay. There's just a random kit of Patriot Viper Elite 2s that's DDR4 4000 for £40 for a 16 gig kit. I was just like, what? Okay.
Kind of want to buy that for the memes, but also it's just I'm going to end up putting it in some office box because I'm not going to use it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, these only cost me £40, so I could use them anywhere, but also I'm just going to cry myself to sleep as I don't have a use for them in anything modern. All right. I'm gonna
crack open a cold boy with the ones.
Yes. But also, I might just lob this into that case.
Oh, that is a hard drive. I do not want to fit a hard drive.
No. Yeah, I'm just going to lob all of this into that chassis, just so it's actually I'm starting to group stuff together. And yeah.
I'm doing lots of not talking here whilst
that's okay. Yep,
building stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to start putting this in. Once you've finished that...
What?
Are you okay?
What are you?
All right. Once you've finished sort of tinkering with the £800 spec, could you...
Oh, sorry, I was aiming for 600.
Oh, yeah. Is that 600 on another one or for this one?
Yeah, on another one.
On another one. Okay. Righto. Well, we'll start discussing that in a moment. I was going to say, if you just suddenly turn around and be like, I've done it, this is the answer, I'm going to be like, this is a talk show, we're supposed to talk about it while we do it. I can't just cut... If we just come in with the answer, then it's a news show. Damn, that thing's knocked out a lot of heat considering it wasn't doing anything. Although it was probably on fan stop mode, so...
Yeah.
Right.
That feels a bit bad.
Right. Caradog, talk to me. What are you doing?
Looking at inexpensive power supplies. Oh, thank God for that. There's a CX550. They exist for less than £50.
CX for £40, my beloved.
Sadly, it's £49.
Still under 50. Still under 50.
Yeah. Right. So, excluding graphics card.
Yeah.
£364.35.
Right. So, like, what have you got?
So that is basically building the cheapest new thing you can. Which is Core i5 12400F.
Sure. Okay. That's not a bad start.
ASRock B650M-HDV.
Yeah.
Corsair Vengeance 16 gig DDR4 3600.
How much is that i5?
£103.94.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to top that. Like, the nearest equivalent would be...
You can get the 12100 for like £89, but now you're down to 4 cores.
Yeah.
And this is 6 cores, and it's just like, I feel better spending that £20, even though that £20 is 20% increase in price.
Yeah.
It's still also kind of, I feel slightly bad giving someone a 4-core.
Yeah, because like I could also turn around and say, but we've now given them 50% more cores, which sounds like a really disgusting way to phrase it, but it's not wrong.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
There's
there's no CPU cooler in this because that's kind of visual preference, and they're all £20.
Yeah. Just going to lob 20 quid onto the price. Yeah.
Kioxia G2 1TB. Antec AX20 because it's £33.
Damn. Let's have a look at that.
Oh, that didn't do what I expected it
to. Actually, can we? Should we HDMI capture your laptop so people can see what you're browsing? You have the hoodmies on that. Yes.
I was like, where is it?
Oh, that's not going through a capture card because I'm a genius. Big brain.
Where is the capture card?
Yes, we do need. No, we don't need pass through. Wait. Processing. Okay.
I need an HDMI cable to go somewhere involving this capture card.
I had the dial-up tone playing in my brain for a moment there.
I was like, I don't know why I wouldn't just set it up for pass-through, and then you can leave the HDMI plugged in.
Look.
The capture's HDMI. The HDMI from the capture. The cable that remains there.
The capture's HDMI.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. Okay, right. Capture with face. Bam. Did it. Wrong one.
Have you got a black window capture? Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Disable the window capture.
Oh, right. Yep.
There is also. Oh, yeah, there was just a black window capture above.
All right, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, right. Let's continue. Where were we? Oh, yeah.
Oh, we just turned off again.
Oh, my days. It's this. This capture box is weird, man.
I entirely blame this HDMI cable, because it works fine when we use the grey ones.
See, every time I buy more grey HDMI cables, you shout at me. So when I use now I'm using a black one, you're like,
Well, I don't know. It's just a case of when we've used those grey ones previously, we've not had issues.
True.
We've now swapped to this black one, had an issue, and I'm like, okay, is it the HDMI cable?
Maybe it was the HDMI cables this whole time.
Maybe? Who knows? That hasn't fixed it.
Right.
I half expected it to magically fix it.
Okay, right. Let's see if that lasts. What have you done to this window? Okay, there we go. That's the Antec case. That looks cool. I like that.
Especially for £33 or whatever it was.
No capture. That's the Antec. What's that one called again?
AX20.
AX20. Yeah, that looks cool. I like it. And for that price, that's stunning. I blame crappy MacBook. No, it's to do with the capture.
I blame the MacBook.
Yeah, I mean that much being said, there's also there's a cam link over there as well, so we could just bash it into the cam link.
Where's the HDMI? Where's the HDMI?
Right. Right, Caradog is sorting out the capture so we can actually share with you what we're looking at, which I think is a bit more engaging.
Right, that works. Do we now have capture?
So if I activate it again, it'll probably come good for a second and then it'll die again. So deactivate, activate.
No, okay. I was wondering if it was because this couldn't detect that there was a screen.
It's
because
the capture box.
Because there was no.
Yeah.
Well, only because the capture box wasn't there.
Yeah. Like sometimes it behaves and sometimes it will behave for weeks, but like this is not the first time we've had issues with this. I don't know why. And like it's frustrating because when it works, but it's just Grr. I think what's frustrating is we can never figure out the pattern for when the XR1 works and when it won't. Okay, right, properties.
Oh, that's not going to fit.
All right, stand by everyone, we're switching captures. Cam link.
I'm also intrigued by the fact that this is a branded Xbox USB cable.
Yes.
Why do you have a branded Xbox USB cable?
Because I bought it with a Xbox controller. Or it came with an Xbox controller.
Huh.
You know what? I might have been brutally unfair because that cam link isn't working either.
Does the cam link work?
There's a cam link that doesn't work somewhere, but that one is clearly labelled.
So help me if I pick this one up and this is the clearly labelled broken one.
Okay. I'm getting annoyed with that. No capture. Don't know.
See, as I said, I blame the MacBook.
You might be right, yeah. I mean, also, just try dropping the resolution on this as well.
Oh, I thought I had it open.
Yeah.
Displays. It's not even detecting the other display.
No.
Yeah, the capture is just not detected at all.
Nope, don't care. We're not capturing. We're just going to chat. Or failing that, I could shuffle to the right and you could just do it on this PC instead. Let's do that. I hate shuffling things around while we're live, which is what annoys me, because it puts in loads of dead time while we faff. That can go there. I'm going to swap. Wah. There we go. Okay.
Hello. Good afternoon. Ah, yes. We're not paying for we haven't paid for the £300 Apple HDMI cable. That's why it doesn't work.
It's true. I don't know.
I need to
Just every now and then we'll sort out and all of the capture stuff will just work flawlessly. Like it did the last couple of times we've used it. It's been completely fine. Now it's dicking us around halfway through your stream again, and it's like, grrr.
Yeah.
You say that like you have top quality production value otherwise. Look, listen, okay? All right? Okay.
I'm waiting for the statement, but okay.
Look.
I'm looking.
Listen.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I have both looked, listened, and observed. Can I now cross the road?
Only if there's nothing coming. I'm going to shove some screws in this. Look at this pile of screws that someone left here that I can reuse. Right.
You can only email Tim Cook if you subscribe to Apple's Email Tim Cook Pro HD service.
Right, where were we up to? So, yeah, cheap Antec case, cool.
Yes, which doesn't look terrible.
These require metric screws. I'm going to get some metric screws.
Very well. And then, of course, SCX 2023 550 watt power supply.
Yeah.
Because
okay,
basically it was the cheapest one where I was just like, I know this won't be at least, this is definitely
it'll be passable.
Not a bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, it was £360.
Yeah, that's £365.
Oh yeah, 365
excluding a graphics card.
Yeah. Excluding a graphics card. So what's our minimum graphics card then? 6650 XT?
6600.
6600, yeah. Is that 6600 vanilla?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, that is the basic. That is the lowest.
Yeah,
price available new.
And if we're aiming for 600, then yeah. So yeah, and we are talking new, but on the other hand, yeah, that puts us into. How much is this 6600 flat then?
£192.
Okay, yeah. So that puts us at
£580.35.
Yeah. So realistically, you're really aiming for 650 for that in order to have any meaningful profit at all.
Yeah.
So minimum viable with brand new parts is kind of 650.
Yeah.
So I think if we want to come in at 600, you have to put some refurb parts in there, basically, don't you? So.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
eBay.
So yeah, that's 600 parts. 600 with profit is no. Well, how are you going to? What are you? Okay, yeah. What's your answer then, Si? It's easy to go, there's no profit in that. Yeah, where's the profit going to come from then? So how do we get profit out of 600 quid? And again, like, obviously a counterpoint, someone's going to be like, well, you've got to increase the budget. I'm like, people come in, they want to buy gaming PCs for 600 quid. What do you say? What do we do? So in that case, we've got to go to second hand then. So what's the answer there? So
what was that called?
the answer would be a second-hand graphics card that's like 120 quid, I guess, isn't it? But like, what graphics card is going to go that low?
Okay, fine. It's not a bomb. You can save some money by buying a bundle.
Okay.
ASRock 6600 and an MSI Mag A550BN power supply for £200. So that's £200, which saves you 20 quid off of this, effectively. It does say or best offer, so you could offer like 185 and then make it somewhat worthwhile.
Yeah.
Or you can buy a 6600 XT on its own for 200. So
Yeah, we're increasing the spec, but we're not decreasing the cost.
oh, there we go. £182 6600 XT, which saves you £10. Saves you £10 and puts you up to the XT.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of obviously that saves you £10 and puts you up to the XT.
Yeah. We'd need to. I mean, if we could do that, I suppose if we did that on like one or two other items, then like if we can save a tenner another like 5 times and get the cost price down to I mean, we're still at 650 realistically, and that's 650 with bugger all profit. So we need to get down. We need to get down closer to 500 so we can sell at 600 with £100 profit.
£170 for the 6600.
Yeah. We got to go down to the 12100 on the CPU.
I don't know what the fault is with this. What is the fault? Who's Albert?
Being a shop, why can't you buy wholesale parts from a distributor? Because you'd have to buy 50 of them.
And they're also functionally the same price.
Yeah. You've got to buy a lot before wholesale actually starts happening. And if you're buying like 50 or 100 CPUs at a time, then you can start talking to wholesalers and start saving some money. But the wholesale price on most components is going to be a couple of quid cheaper. So it'll be a couple of quid cheaper, which means you've got to buy a load of them for that to start adding up. And there'll be delivery and order costs built into that, which means you've got to buy even more before you actually start saving any money. So yeah, basically, if you're buying ones and twos like what we're doing, there is no wholesale price basically, and there never was. Dealcar says wholesale prices have gone to shit. They always were shit. Wholesale price wasn't worth it when I was doing this 15, 18 years ago. You know, back when I first got into this game, wholesale prices were bollocks. Ba 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 da ba 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 ba. 12100 and a 6600 has better performance than an overpriced 8700G. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, if we dropped the CPU down to a 12100, which I know feels slightly gross, but that knocks another 20 quid off straight away, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that's the only way forward. The only other way forward is that we just simply buy secondhand everything, and we just actually go for a refurbished PC. And that is certainly something we can do. The only problem is part of me doesn't like the idea of that because it's not reproducible, but then that's also just what it takes to build cheap computers. I feel like we're coming to the conclusion here that the £600 PC isn't actually possible unless you're selling crap, basically.
Second-hand 12400s are more expensive than new ones.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because cost of postage, effectively, on the sale price. The second-hand sale price makes it more expensive. How much is an AMD 5500?
Retro or new, we're currently speccing a 12400F with a 6600 XT and parts of your choice, basically. Basically, you know, if you reckon the target is 600 quid, see what you can do, basically.
A 5500 is £75.
Why not go ARC, A750 or A770? I don't think I could I don't think I would trust an ARC, basically. I don't think I could sell an ARC to a customer. That's the thing with Intel ARC, is they do work, but you need to be an enthusiast to own one, because they're fine until they're not fine. And if you're an enthusiast, you can deal with the not fine instances. But if you're not an enthusiast, you know, it's just going to keep coming back in with problems. I think that's the problem there. I'm going to pin all this in. Do as much of the build as I can. Even though I don't really have much stuff to put in here yet. Have you tried CCL online? Yeah, I mean, CCL are one of the places that you can buy from. Their prices will be largely the same as everywhere else. CCL are factored into PC Part Picker, I think. So yeah, like the prices we're looking at are on PC Part Picker, which is a price aggregator. So they're looking at all of these places already. Yeah, how much is a second-hand 2060 these days? Because people keep recommending that. CCL are bankrupt. Oh yeah, they did go bust, didn't they? Sag. CEX for CPUs if going used? Absolutely not.
Well, it's a CPU.
Yeah, it's never the CPU, I guess, isn't it?
It's either dead or not dead.
Yeah, and if it's dead, you send it back.
And you'll instantly know if it's dead.
Yeah.
2060s are at least £140.
How does the 2060 compare versus a 6600 then? Because
I don't know.
Yeah, those are surely going to have a fairly decent fist fight. That sounds reasonable.
Power up. 20. Whoops. That's not a 2060. That's a 2026-0.
I see.
A 2060 is approximately hold on. Compared to a 6600, a 2060 offers 92% of a performance.
Yeah, that's not bad. However, yeah, so it just depends on how desperate we are to scrape off a little bit more of the cost again then.
I don't know in what world, when you're over budget with a 6600, going to a 6800 XT would make you in budget.
Yeah. And also JD says he's got 555 with a 6600. How are you managing that, JD? Is that just local pricing? Oh, what crimes did I commit here? Will you stick back in? I stole the RGB controller out of this at one point. Oh, that's still good. If I heat that sticky tape a little bit, that'll hold. The 3050 still exists. Oh, is the 3050 yeah. Yeah, the 3050 isn't viable though, surely. How does that compare versus what we're looking at? Yeah, I think the 3050 is almost certainly non-viable as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you're building, I guess it'll run Fortnite, but yeah, we're starting to get into the realms of how cheap do you really want to go?
The 3050 8 gig, which is the faster version from memory. Yeah, because the standard 3050 is 4 gig. The 3050 8 gig is 79% of the performance of a 6600. So it's over 20%.
Yeah, we're starting to drop serious performance there, and we're already looking at budget graphics cards here. So no, I don't think a 3050 is viable.
Yeah.
That's just going to be you will instantly want to upgrade this part, and in which case, why did you buy it in the first place?
Yeah, the 3050 8 gig is beaten in performance by the Radeon RX Vega 56.
Ouch. Yeah.
The 5600 XT that you already own is faster.
Oh, in that case, I'd just sell that secondhand then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that case, you know, like if we're using secondhand parts, we're kind of moving into the stage of, okay, well, in that case, let's spec it with a 5600 XT, and I can just sell the one that I've got.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of...
Yeah, if we're trying to talk about, again, reproducible.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, if you go secondhand 5600X off of eBay, and then swap the motherboard to an ASRock B550M-HDV, you're down to a parts cost of £556.
That's not too shabby.
And the only secondhand part is the CPU.
Yeah, that's not too shabby at all.
You can take off another 20 quid with a secondhand 6600.
Yeah. Have you got a cooler factored into that?
Yeah, Thermalright Assassin King SE for £24.
Yeah. I'm almost tempted to say I could stick a box cooler on the 5600X as well.
Oh, you absolutely could.
Yeah.
But it's just a case of, obviously, we were saying we'll allocate between £20 and £30 for a fancy looking cooler because you're building it for you and you want a fancy looking cooler on it.
Yeah.
You don't have lots of money to spend on it, but you want a fancy looking cooler.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was the cheapest option for that. Or maybe the ID cooling in black because it's got RGB on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. B550, not Intel.
Yeah. Stevie H says...
B550 is an AM4 motherboard for the AM4 5600X.
Yeah. Stevie H said, dare I say, but if you want a game and you only want to spend 600 quid, would you not be better off with an Xbox or PS5? Very valid point. Arguably, yes. That's definitely something to consider. You know, if you have no budget, then actually a console might be the right play. However, if all your mates are playing on Steam and you want to play with your mates, then a PC is what you need. So I think that's an extremely valid point, but there is still room for a PC in that area. So yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the same. But yeah. A new 3600, same motherboard, fractionally cheaper, cooler, slightly cheaper RAM because it's 3200, not 3600. But then it's a 500 gig SSD to take it to 40 quid as opposed to 56 quid for a terabyte. And it's like 16 quid to double the storage. It's kind of a case of you to tell the client, terribly sorry, you need to pay an extra £20.
Yeah. Really, 650 is kind of the best that we can manage, isn't it? Because like we're currently at 550 with no profit.
You could effectively you could sell them a computer at £600 and then say, and we can build it for you for £100. If that makes sense, effectively.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just saying we can supply parts at.
Yeah.
And then we can charge you to build it.
Yeah.
Because there is just nothing in there.
Yeah.
Or like, this does not include Windows and Office. Windows and Office is £100.
Yeah.
And because Windows and Office cost price to you is £10.
Technically, you could do that, but I think that's kind of sleazy. That's airline levels of sleaze there. So it's just like, you could do that, but I wouldn't do that. Because that's gross, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I'm just saying, you know,
yeah.
If a ticket price of £600 is required, that's what you have to do.
Yeah. However, if the ticket doesn't include a seat on the plane, you know,
it does. It supplies the computer. The computer is supplied.
But also,
you just have to supply Windows yourself.
And if you're able to do that, then why are you here in the first place? So no, it's just, no, don't like that at all. So really, what we've got here is a parts cost of 550, and really, you don't want to get out of bed for less than 100 quid. So it's a parts cost of approximately 550, selling at 650. So yeah. So I think that's basically as low as that you can actually go. PC costs 600, then we can do setup on Windows for 100. But that's the thing, you're supplying, at that point, you're supplying a £600 PC that doesn't actually work because it needs setup on Windows. So the customer is like, well, I need setup on Windows. And you're like, well, that'll be another £100. So it doesn't cost 600 then, does it? It costs 700. That's what if I was a customer, that's what I would say. And I would be insulted that you actually asked me, that you tried to do that with me in the first place. If I was a customer and you know, if I was a customer coming into a computer shop and they said the computer is 600, but you've got to pay another 700 if you've got to pay another £100 if you want it to actually run, I would say, so it actually costs 700. Fuck off. I'm going somewhere else now. That's how I would respond if a computer shop said that to me, and I would immediately walk out the door and go somewhere else. So yeah. So yeah, really, 550, it costs 650 to the customer, and you get 100 quid. That's, I think that's viable. It's not great, but that's the best that you can manage.
Yeah.
It depends how you word it. Yeah, so it's 700 then, isn't it? You know. Why such a round number? Because I really hate people that hide prices in weird numbers. I really hate the £99 price. It's £100. Just say it's 100. You know, I really, yeah, I hate it. Call it what it is. Sounds like Ticketmaster pricing all the service fees. Yeah, and look where that's got them. So yeah.
What are you on about, JD? 5600 XT is like 10% slower. That's not the same performance. Yeah.
What's the cheapest used 4K GPU right now? 3080 Ti? I guess a 3080 at a push, but
I don't know. I also have too many windows open. Close.
Yeah. But yes, I think 650 is the cheapest viable price. If you go any lower than that, you may as well just go and buy a second-hand PC. We've already got some refurbished parts in there. And if they go, well, I want it to be 600, then you say, well, I can't supply anything that cheap then, because there's no planet where I can make money on that.
Yeah.
Spending a bit more than 600 get you so much performance and value. That's a very valid point, Spectre. And like again, we're talking 650 because we haven't actually managed to get down to 600 So yeah, but if the customer says I've got 600 to spend, I would counter and say 650 is the best I can do, and let's entertain that 650 is the best we can do then at that, and say, okay, well, if you upped the budget to 700, you've got another 50 quid in parts that you can spend. That doesn't get you that much more. It gets you a little bit more here and there.
Yeah, it gets you up to a 6650 XT, which is basically the only swap you'd need to make.
Yeah. And, yeah, that's a bit better. But
that's 20% more graphics performance.
Yeah, that's not insubstantial, is it? And also at this point we're GPU bound anyway, so the CPU doesn't matter.
Not massively.
Yeah. And so, you could say to the customer, we can do 650, but really you may as well spend 700 so it can be
20% faster.
Yeah. And then after that, you're going to need to spend another 100 quid to get a meaningful upgrade. And we start scaling.
Yeah.
New $700 is baseline. So yeah, I mean, $700 is probably about £650. Although, are we still going to assume that we're doing price and dollar parity here? Because we usually are, aren't we? If it costs £650 here, it's probably going to be $650 US.
Plus tax.
Yeah, plus tax, yeah. But then the 800 quid system you did start with looks out of place. Yeah. However, I think at that point you've just got to say to the customer, you'll get more value for money if you spend more. But then you've got to spend more.
Well, yeah.
And that's just going to be up to the customer. Do you want to, do you want to spend 600? Do you want to spend 650 and get something that is minimum viable, or do you want to spend 800 and get something that is mid-range? And that's just going to be a matter of, well, have you got 800 quid to spend? Because that's the thing there. At that point, it becomes very easy to spend other people's money. It's just like, well, if you spend this amount, it'll be better. It's like, yeah, but also it costs more. So how much have you got? If you don't have 800 quid, then suddenly 650 is what it's going to cost then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thoughts on a ThinkStation P520? What's the spec of it? I don't know my ThinkStations. And the customer still hasn't got a display and peripheries. This is true, but the display and peripheries are basically the same cost no matter what the tower is. Like if we assume that if we assume that a monitor, keyboard and mouse is going to cost 120, 150 pounds ish, that's going to be the same whether you've got a 650 pound tower or if you're spending 1,200 pound on a tower. You're not wrong, but I don't think it's worth considering that. However, if the customer turned around and said, I want to spend 650 quid, including a monitor, keyboard and mouse, at that point you go, no, I can't do that. Or, well, we could probably buy something second hand, but I don't think that's something that I'm actually going to sell because now I'm just looking for old PCs.
Yeah, you'd be buying some sort of like 8th gen bundle off of eBay.
Yeah.
For a 50, to try and get a £50 CPU and motherboard bundle.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm just like, I don't mind selling refurb, sort of new build computers with some refurb parts in, but I'm not in the second-hand PC market. At that point, I'm just like, you know, it's such a struggle to make any money on that. I just don't think it's worth the hassle, because you've got to spend all day on eBay opportunistically buying stuff.
Oh my god, what the hell? The 8700 is 80 quid. No, I'd rather have a 5600, thanks.
Second-hand Intel stuff is a joke. It always has been.
Yeah, I was just hoping there'd be some motherboard bundles appearing for it.
Yeah, I think it works if you're the kind of person that comes across second-hand gear a lot.
500 quid. No thanks.
Yeah, dreaming. Yeah. What about a 5700G system with the option of a GPU? The problem is that the APUs are not viable gaming viable for gaming.
The problem is the 6600 is twice the performance.
Yeah, even a modest graphics card obliterates an APU.
A 1050 Ti is faster than an APU.
Yeah. That much being said, though, if you built with an APU, you could build a
Oh yeah, Xeons suck for gaming.
Yeah.
End conversation.
Yeah. However, let's just entertain this APU idea for a sec. The ThinkStation P520 is a Xeon. Yeah, no, Xeons are terrible. Yeah, terrible and bad. Dead end, bad for gaming. The big core count and thread count is a complete red herring for the Xeons. So yeah. Anyway, so the APU, let's entertain that for a sec, because if we built a 5700G with an APU in it, you could probably build something that's like 500 quid, and it will probably run Fortnite. You know, it's going to run Fortnite at like 60 FPS, but like if it ran Fortnite at 60 FPS, it's fulfilled its purpose. And you can say, cool, then 6 months down the line, save up some more money, put a graphics card in it. I think that's not a terrible idea. Xeons are adequate for gaming. Yeah, they're adequate. They can game. It's just a bad direction to go in.
And anyone who recommends them is...
The only time... the only way that it's not a terrible idea is if you're buying if that ThinkStation costs 100 quid for the whole thing, and you drop a graphics card in it and a different power supply, then maybe you're onto something, but also it will be a dead end.
Yeah, because if you swap over to...
Are you speccing computers for Fortnite now? Well, that's what kids are playing. When mum or dad comes into the shop and says, my 14-year-old wants his first gaming PC, we've got 500 quid, you can bet your right arm that kid wants to play Fortnite, because that's what the kids play. So that's your target, basically. And we're talking about esports here. So they're playing Fortnite, they're playing Valorant. And these are low-spec games. They run on a potato.
Yeah,
so
intentionally.
So suddenly an APU isn't quite as bonkers as it sounds. And when they turn around and go, okay, I want to play Ark Survival now, I want to play Rust or whatever the kids are playing these days, you can be like, cool, now you're going to have to buy a graphics card, but you can just drop that into the existing PC.
Oh God, I do enjoy reading the real Reddit builder PC. Some of the suggestions people are making, like, oh, I'm thinking of building a Ryzen 4600G computer and putting in an RX 4070.
No.
It's just like, what?
Yeah. Also, just before we continue, can you just entertain me? Just look up the performance of a W2145. What's the CPU? What's that performance?
What a
W2145. What's that performance equivalent to?
No idea.
Yeah. So try doing Google search W2145 versus or something like that, because like we'll come up with some gaming benchmarks on YouTube with that.
It's a 2017 Xeon. The turbo's up to 4.5. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
interesting.
However,
which means it will be.
Yeah, but Google versus, and we'll get YouTube videos showing how it actually runs games.
Skylake the same as the 6500? Sorry, the 6600. Oops. Come on, load.
Oh, this poor MacBook. This is the times when you start feeling it, don't you? Versus what was come on, give us some equivalents.
Benchmark.
Oh, yeah, literally put versus in the title. Because then we'll see it versus something else, and we'll get a gauge of how it performs versus something else. Because that's the thing, we can see benchmarks here and we get numbers, but that doesn't mean anything because it's in a void. Right, versus. Oh, really? No one's. Ah, here we go. Oh no, that's not helping either. Xeon's 5650. What's the? No one's done any. No one's done any comparisons. 9 times out of 10, if you stick versus in the field, you will get gaming comparisons of this versus that. That's what I was expecting just then.
Yeah, but based purely on age, it's approximately the performance of 6600, the i5 6600.
Okay, yeah. So based on the age, yeah. Okay, so either way,
based on the age and on the clock, it's going to be approximately that, but it might be a fraction faster just because they might have dumped a load of cache on it.
Yeah. I mean, even if we pretend it punches above that weight, it's not going to get past a 7700 or something like that. So in which case it's irrelevant. Again, unless you're paying like 50 quid for the whole shooting match.
Yes.
4600G with a used 1660 Super. I mean, if you're putting in a graphics card, there's not much point in using an APU.
You'd be better off getting something like the 4700 if you're buying slightly odd CPUs anyway, like the 4700 Pro or whatever it is.
Yeah. Or failing that, we sort of roll back to using something like an i5 12100F and a 2060 or something like. No, the 2060 we decided that didn't work. Yeah. 12400F and Mobo's 190 from AWD. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's the kind of prices we're looking at either. Beats an i7 8700K. In what? Because, like, if you're talking about in Cinebench, yeah, but Cinebench isn't a gaming workload. Remember, games aren't multi-threaded. And, like, if you...
Not like that.
Yeah, not meaningfully. So, I mean, obviously, like, if you throw number crunching at it, it will demolish because that's what it's designed for. If you throw a gaming workload at it, where you have really high single-thread loads, that's where a Xeon will completely fall over. Yeah. Like, what was that CPU? Someone in the Discord had run a Xeon build recently, and I looked it up earlier on. I looked it up yesterday, I think it was, and found that it was the gaming equivalent of a 8700K. But I think that was a newer Xeon, although it's still an X99.
The only thing is, though, even if it is the same as a 8700, whatever it is, that still makes it slower than a 3060. Sorry, a
3600.
3600.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is we're trying to we're currently competing with 5-year-old CPUs. So
yeah.
Right. That's all in there.
Oh gosh.
You can put the side panels on this because I've got nothing else for it.
Apparently it would also effectively be slower than a Ryzen 3 3300X?
Nothing.
So it's like, oh, okay. If that thing ever actually existed ever again.
It was the 3300X. That was one of those weird little screamer ones, wasn't it?
The 3300X that existed for like 17 days.
Yeah, they made about 10 of them, didn't they?
Yeah. It was wild.
Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to rearrange. Oh, it doesn't matter. I don't have any parts for this. I'm putting this PC aside. I'm going to put this in it just for storage, even though I'm not actually going to leave it in there. But it also just means that I can just put this out on the counter and it can start attracting attention from people.
Ooh. I do enjoy the different like font weight that Greek characters occasionally get, and just like, yes, the ultra dense 3 mu pitch.
See, this is why. I guess I was about to say this is why you should just put UF instead of micro M sort of thing, just because. Just because of that. I don't know. Right. I just hate that you throw out the general Xeons are trash. Because the problem is people keep buying them. You know, people keep buying X99 and X299 systems for gaming. And they're just bad at gaming. There are just better choices. Like, again, don't get me wrong, they work. But you're deliberately buying, you're buying a CPU that is objectively not designed for gaming, when you could buy a CPU that was designed for gaming. You know, again, it doesn't make sense unless you bought it for £10, basically. If you really got it for a steal, then that can start making sense, because, again, these old workstations, a lot of the time they will sell for really cheap. So like if you bought the whole thing for 50 quid, then it's like, okay, this is kind of viable, and it was 50 quid for the whole platform. Sure. The actual gaming CPU was way more expensive than that, so that does make sense.
If you bought...
It has to be dirt cheap to justify buying a CPU that is not designed for gaming.
And not massively good at it. If you bought the Xeons, the motherboard for the Xeons, and the RAM for the Xeons for less than £200, then yes, there's a conversation to be had there.
Well, actually, you know what? Let's see this through. How much is a ThinkStation P520? Let's hit up eBay.
eBay.
How cheap can we build a P520 gaming PC?
Is it one word or two?
Yeah.
Is ThinkStation P520.
All right. So we're looking at 266, 340, 301. 262, there's a 251 there. 250 quid. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, and that's with the W2125, which was the slightly slower one.
Yeah, it's the slower one. But, yeah.
Yeah, so it's 250 quid. That gets you a complete computer. So, do they show any internal shots of that?
No.
Failing that, we need to Google it, because basically we need to find out, does that need a different power supply, or can we just drop a graphics card into that?
Hello? There we go. Images.
Yeah, because, for example, if you were doing this on a Dell Precision workstation, you'd need to drop in a power supply.
Oh, you'll need at the very least, you'll need a harness, because the cables for the power supply for the GPU will almost certainly be EPS cables, not PCI cables.
Possibly. An adapter's probably like 10 quid.
Oh yeah,
though,
but
so
statement, you will need one.
Yeah.
Most likely, just because almost all of these cards are EPS cards.
Yeah. Even still, though, it has got the connector there.
Yeah.
Although, is it going to have one or two connectors? It's probably got two. If it's considering it's there's probably two of those. So. The power supply it has is probably viable then.
Yeah, it's like a 690 watt. There's nothing wrong with the power supply from a wattage point of view.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
Okay. So it's 250 quid for a computer without a graphics card. So then you've just got to drop in a graphics card. So again, if we're assuming that you're paying 200 quid for a graphics card, you're looking at sort of 450.
Yeah.
So it's 450 quid for a sort of for an 8700K equivalent.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about a 2018 class CPU.
Yeah.
And we're currently looking to build with like, 2022, maybe 23 class CPUs. Like even because like what CPUs were we looking at? Like 12100F. What's the 12100F versus a 8700K? Just for lols.
Like 50%.
Yeah, because that's the thing. If the 12100F annihilates an 8700K, then we're still dead in the water, because for the same kind of money, you could have 50% more CPU performance in games, which is what we're building for here. So, where's the side panel? Put fingerprints all over that before I put it on as a treat.
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
They're probably not going to... Yeah, I mean, how far back do their CPUs go? Have they got like 9700K or something? Because we can probably extrapolate going backwards.
I think they've got... haven't they just got a massive CPU list on their site now?
Yeah, I don't know. But like, if they've got a 12400 versus, say, a 97, a 9th gen...
No, they only went back to 11th gen.
Okay.
Which is why I was just like, oh, I'm going to have to annoyingly jump to...
Yeah. If you spec for Fortnite, you can just sell toasters. Yeah, but the problem is that the reason... My point of contention here, Fluffy, is that the Xeon would be viable, but if I can spend £10 more on like an i5 12100F, or sorry, a 12400F, and get 50% more performance, why the hell would I buy a Xeon if I can get 50% more performance for a 10 quid more with an i5 or an i3 instead? That's the thing. Yeah, P520 with a 6700 XT is a budget 1440p PC. So yeah, so with the 6700 XT, you're paying what, 250, 300 pounds for a 6700 XT, I think we decided. And we already know that P520 is 250 pounds at least. So again, the cheapest one we found was 250.
Yeah, £300 in round figures.
Yeah. So you're looking, so basically that,
£500.
so the P520 with a 6700 XT is 500 quid.
Sure.
So yeah, that's not too shabby, but for an extra 50 quid, we can build that with modern parts. Or not with the 6700 XT, mind you. So, you know, it has gotten the price down, I'll give you that, but at the cost of building with a 2018 CPU.
Um,
12100 is similar to a 3600, which is like the 8700K ballpark. Yeah, that's a reasonable point, JD. Yeah, we'd have to be speccing at a 12400 to be competitive. So yeah. Yeah. See, this is the thing. There's not a doubt in my mind that it works. I just don't think it's a good forward direction to go in. Is it worthwhile checking the PC equivalent of a PS5 or Xbox and what you can get away with? Sort of. You can get sort of. You can get Series S performance for around about £500 or £600. Basically, building a PC equivalent of a console isn't a fight you'll win. The console will work out better. Consoles are really good value for money. That is undeniable.
Yeah, especially when a PS5 is 350 quid.
Whoa, that's come down.
PS5 Slim, digital, so you don't have a disk
Sure.
drive, but 350 quid.
Damn, that's really good. I thought you were still looking at £400 or £500 for a PS5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Honestly, it's kind of a case of I don't know why you'd get a PC if your budget was £400 kind of thing.
Because you want to play PC games.
Unless you're buying something that isn't playing games.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah. So it's, 350 quid.
Can you solder a PC BIOS chip on a PS5 to convert it to an actual PC? No. Because the architecture is built for a specific thing. There will be no drivers, there will be no BIOS, there will be no support. Everything is custom in there. It's the same architecture, so it's like a PC, but it's still quite a long way off of that.
Interesting.
PlayStation Portal.
Yeah, I didn't realise they're
terrible.
only £200.
Yeah.
Because I assumed that they would be charging way more than that.
Yeah, they have to be £200 because you need a PS5 to use it.
Oh yeah, they're a streaming device.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I assumed that Sony would be trying to charge way more for them.
No. Although with the price creep on other handhelds, it doesn't look insane, but the Steam Deck kind of stands out as a why would you?
How much is an Xbox? Xbox. Yeah, 400.
Oh, the Series X is not price competitive anymore, is it?
Yeah.
The Series S is still a great buy.
Yeah, 266 quid.
Yeah.
250 quid.
Yeah. But the Series X, that's just too expensive with the PS5 Slim being what it is.
That's slightly better.
Yeah, 390.
390, and it's got an optical drive.
Yeah.
Whereas the PS5 to get an optical drive is 400.
Yeah.
So just if you care about having an optical drive, the Series X is slightly cheaper.
Not bad.
And in my opinion, you get access to a slightly better controller.
I had to lower that down very slowly because my back is ruined again this week.
Again?
It's still
or
ruined.
Still?
Still, yeah.
Okay.
I'm recovering.
Okay.
I need a new thing that you sleep on.
You know what you need to do?
Mattress. Yeah.
Do you know what you need to do?
Fine.
Look at your emails.
I wish I had now. I should have just taken the money on the mattress and just shilled for mattresses. Anyway.
I don't think it's that off-brand because everyone needs to sleep and everyone needs a decent night's sleep.
Yeah.
And if you're fixing stuff and you're tired, you'll break something.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that off-brand.
It's true. Steam Deck is starting to show its age, in my opinion. I'd agree with that. It's still a good handheld. It's still extremely well priced, but yeah, considering how fast that market is moving, I would agree with that.
But also the Steam Deck still offers you basically the most consistent experience.
Yeah. If I was buying a handheld, I'd still want a Steam Deck over anything else right now.
Yeah. The only thing I would consider getting instead is the Asus ROG Z1 thingy Extreme Majibi. What's it? Just because, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at the Intel NUC 9 Extreme? The NUCs were always expensive though, or have they crashed in price because NUC is dead? The NUC was always a very weird area where they were kind of tech demos.
Oh,
They were really interesting in their own right. Just the price didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, ghost cannon stuff. That was kind of
Could
cool.
also do merch. That would work too. Maybe it would, JD. Maybe it would.
Yeah, they were super cool, and I would love for them to have continued. But also at the same time, like, I don't know what the actual market was.
No. Especially now that the Chinese mini PC market is alive and well, you know, with the existence of Minis Forum and all the other mini PC brands, I don't see why you'd buy a NUC, to be honest. Although they can offer you an astonishingly high performance in a small box, but you pay through the teeth for it, though.
Yeah, and also all of the NUCs, as far as I'm aware, used laptop processors, technically.
Yeah. Gaming laptops can be a good price. Yeah, they can be.
Certainly,
but
like if you get them on sale or like end of generation ones.
Yeah, the only problem is that if it breaks, you're up the creek without a paddle. That's my issue with gaming laptops. They're almost. It wouldn't be fair to say they're irreparable, but you're in for a really bad time if something goes wrong with it. Whereas any other PC, and you know what, I'm gonna bash on this one again. That would also be the issue if you went down the route of like one of these ThinkStations. If you get a motherboard failure, you're basically toast. Whereas again, with another system, you have standard parts that are replaceable instead of a bunch of proprietary bits. Although if you're buying second-hand and you're using used parts, I don't think repair is really of concern.
Also, at the same time, it's 250 quid.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you just buy another one, wouldn't you?
You could buy an entire new one.
Yeah.
And then take the best parts of the two of them and possibly end up with a fractional upgrade.
Yeah. About back issues, wouldn't be a bad idea to do exercises and stuff. I do yoga. Not very much yoga, but I do like a yoga. I do a yoga-inspired stretch session, is how I would put it.
Holy crap! More Cocoa actually have 7500Fs in stock.
What the hell is 7500F?
It's effectively an OEM only.
Oh, I see.
But it's it's functionally 7600 without the iGPU.
Ah, how much is it?
£177.
How much is the 7600X?
£194.
Yeah.
So it's 20 quid.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Not bad. Like if you're building computers to sell, then yeah, that's an extra 20 quid in your pocket, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, VR chat yoga doesn't count. I mean, if I'm doing the stretches, if I spend 30 to 40 minutes doing stretches, that counts as far as I'm concerned. Like I'm not using the controllers to pose. That's the whole point of it.
I'm doing yoga.
Yeah, I don't press X to crouch,
A controller, right. I was like, who the fuck has crouch on X? What kind of weirdo are you?
Well, look, C to crouch then. I was doing a bit, and if you spend too long to think up the joke, then the moment passes and you end up very...
It's X to prone, honestly.
I see.
Or Z,
Anyway.
Anyway.
Right.
So, question, Mr. Graham.
Okay.
Would you spend £194.96 on a 7600X?
Yeah.
Knowing that you will then need to spend more on motherboards and slightly more on DDR5?
Okay.
Or would you buy a 5700 X3D for 220? So £26 more on the CPU for a 5700 X3D, but fractionally better gaming performance from the 5700 X3D, maybe 1%, but probably total purchase price is less. but you're getting the same or maybe a hair better performance.
See, in a vacuum, I would say take the AM4 system, because you're going to get slightly more performance and you're just going to pay slightly less for everything else in the build. But also, if you take the AM5 build, then you've bought DDR5 and an AM5 motherboard, which means you're probably going to be able to do an upgrade on that in the future. So again, future-proofing, really dangerous word, but AM4 is a dead end. Everything you buy for that AM4 system, you won't get to use it again. So yeah. Firephone. Here's my affiliate link for Gamers Outlet.
Error.
Apparently I'm not allowed to put in my own affiliate link.
Hold on, what if I just do... Ha! Ha! Ha!
Last try. Oh. Try refreshing this window. We're just not allowed to speak in the chat.
We're signed out.
Oh my god, we're signed out. Okay.
That's why.
You're currently signed. Ah!
The fact that you can end up signed out whilst live streaming is wild.
And then refresh the chat again. Hit go live first.
Go live. There we go. There you go. Ha ha.
There we go. Affiliate link. Buy all of your Office and Windows keys through there.
Oh, I like that it's just called Shop Account Channel.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to have to reopen all of the things, aren't I?
Yeah, pretty much. But we're
Excellent. Hello, chat. We possibly exist. We may be in a state of existence.
You change that to live chat. And the links got clipped anyway. My God. Clown Fiesta. There we go. Gamers Outlet. My affiliate link. Buy your stuff through that. Thank you, everyone.
Pop out chat. Refresh. Snapchat.
Oh my God.
Post link.
Yeah.
Close tabs.
Okay, right.
Receive windows. There is preview. There is chat. There we go.
There we go, right. AliExpress has got a B650M Wi-Fi for $80. Yeah. That's probably going to work out pretty good. Yeah. And a 7500F for $125. Yeah, that seems pretty cheap. Yeah. So I think if I were building gaming PCs in here, I would take the AM4 system. If I was building for myself, I'd probably go AM5. I think that's my answer to the original question. So yeah, because it's like we said at the beginning of the stream, the AM4 platform is still competitive. It's just a dead end.
Good for you.
Same site as G2A? No. I don't know much about the owners of Gamers Outlet, I'll level with you. However, I've been buying a lot of codes from them and I've had no issues whatsoever. They didn't want to sponsor me when I asked them to, so, thanks guys. However, I have got an affiliate code for them, so.
B650 HDVM2.
£110. Well, that's not bad in the UK. By the time you pay tax and stuff like that from AliExpress, that's not a lot extra.
Speed 6000. CL 28.
What are we building here? Minimum viable AM5 platform.
A £999 PC, like we said we would.
Yep, fair enough then. Okay.
2 by 8. Interesting.
AM4 is dead, but AMD keeps adding new CPUs to that platform. Pretty much, but also a lot of those CPUs are competitive. You know, like the 5700X3D is a competitive CPU. So is the 5800X3D. They're not the fastest, but they're still very much competitive CPUs. So, and considering the cost of the AM4 platform because of its age, it's one of those annoying things where it's just like, I want to say AM4 is dead, but it's still really good bang for buck, man. And it's technically only one generation out of date.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Would you like to buy Kingston Fury Beast 16 gig DDR5 6000 for £96.19?
Okay, £96 for 6,000.
Or Kingston Fury Beast 32 gig 6000 for £97.55?
Okay, so for £2 more, I get the same speed and double the capacity.
For £1 more.
For £1 more. All right. I see. Very well. There is a rumor of a 5900X. Oh, 5900XT. CPU, because it's hard to tell. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But the 5900, if they did a 5900XT though, that's not going to be a strong gaming CPU. It's going to have a decent core count, but the X3D CPUs just annihilate everything for gaming. X3D destroys all in games. So yeah, if it's not got 3D V cache, it's not going to be gaming competitive, basically. It won't be bad, don't get me wrong, but yeah, X3D destroys all. Apparently Deepcool PL PSUs are now good and cheap.
Yeah.
Deepcool continue their onward march of being very cool, apparently.
Haha.
It's the Max Sun B650M. That sounds horrifying.
Right, that's...
Yeah, I'd rather pay a tenner to have a known brand motherboard that'll actually get BIOS updates.
383 4070 Ti Super.
Lead Farmer says, I wish Deepcool would make more models with the headset holder pop out. So, I get it, but also you can buy little brackets that just clamp to your desk for like £10 that solve this problem. Because I use one of those at home, like 10 quid for a little metal bracket that just clamps to your desk, and now you've got a headset holder. I'd much rather do that than have it on the PC. I think that's a better option.
Nope, never mind.
Or 3D print them. Yeah, I have 3D printed one of them before as well. It wasn't very good though. I need to find a better design. I 3D printed one, but it didn't grip the desk very well, and it just kept slipping off.
Ah, that's horrifying.
You've got a coat or hat hanging rack with 3 headsets. Yeah, that'll work.
Oh, that's rough.
What are you looking at?
Remembering how terrible GPU pricing is.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Can you not build a £600 PC with parts in store? Oh, I'm mostly out of parts because I've been trying to sell off all of my components. I don't just have parts, well, I have some parts lying around, but I have actually been selling PCs in here, so bit by bit. So yeah, I'm mostly out of stuff. Like, we don't have enough to build up that 800 quid PC in here. You bought the 7900X3D because you want to game and edit videos, and it works fine for your needs. Even though the 7900X3D gets hated on. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing video editing and gaming, then it certainly can make some sense. I think that's not a terrible idea. Actually selling PCs? Imagine Graham selling stuff. I know.
This is horrifying.
How does cheap keys from Gamers Outlet legally get sold when MS is so much more? Because one, Microsoft are charging through the teeth and just have prices that don't seem to make any sense whatsoever. And two, the Gamers Outlet keys, they're going to be grey market keys. So they're bulk keys that are being sold separately. Basically, imagine that you buy a multi-pack of Pepsi, you get a tray of 24 Pepsi cans, and they all say, multi-pack, do not sell separately. You buy that 24-pack tray for £5, and you sell each can for £1. That's basically what Gamers Outlet are doing with keys. They're not supposed to sell the keys separately like they are, but they do. I don't know exactly what the legality is, but what I do know is that the keys do work, and I haven't had a single failure yet. So,
rough.
If Microsoft sold Windows for a reasonable price, I'd buy it from them. But like £90 isn't reasonable for Windows.
Rough.
Am I not big into SSF things? Not really. Small form factor is cool, but I just don't care because mid towers aren't exactly big, and you ditch all of the faff. There are very few small form factor builds that don't have some kind of compromise owing to the size of the build. It has gotten better though. The small form factor scene has come a very long way in the past year or two. Like for example, it used to be played with just the small form factor tax, but that has, with small form factor power supplies coming down in cost and things like that, it has become significantly more viable. But you have to plan the build more. I really like just building in a mid tower, because when you build in a mid tower, basically anything will fit and you just don't have to think about it. You can just say, what cooling am I going to use? Whatever I want, because it's a mid tower. I can put anything in there. And small form factor, you've got to plan it all ahead, and you're more or less going to be bound to the spec that you've chosen. But also though, when I was at a LAN party a couple of weeks ago, there were a bunch of small form factor builds there, and a couple of them I looked at and I'm like, that is really cool. I really like that. I think someone had Leanne Lee's little tin box, and I also really like Fractal's small form factor. I forget the name of it now. That's a really nice looking one as well.
That's nasty. Power supplies are just
Still terrible, isn't it?
really quite expensive.
Yeah. If you want like a 600 or 700 watt power supply, you're looking at £100, I think, aren't you?
Corsair
Maybe 90.
RM650 is £75.
Terra, that's the one. £75? Yeah, that's all right. Oh, hang on a sec. What did you say it was? RM?
650.
650. I mean, it's fine, I guess. At the end of the day, like your graphics card, unless you're buying a flagship graphics card, your graphics card is 300 watts or less. And assuming that you're building AMD, because why the hell would you build Intel? All shade intended. Your CPU is sub 200 watts. So there's a strong argument to be made that 600, 650 is completely fine.
Oh, God.
Start repairing PSUs? No. No. I know enough about PSU repair to know that it's not worth trying to chase that rabbit hole. The only way of doing PSU repair is if you really know how power supplies work, and you know how to measure the timing on the MOSFETs and things like that. Because everyone says, oh, it's just the capacitors. It's almost never the capacitors. You've got to be really lucky for that to be the case. So yeah. JD says, I'm an Intel fanboy and will buy new Intel. Are you though, JD?
This is awful. £999 budget is awful.
Okay, so how far have you got with your 999 budget?
I've built a really crap PC. That's where I've got to.
What have you built?
So you know how earlier we had a £650 PC?
Yeah.
I've built the same PC for £900.
How?
Effectively, by going up to a 7600 and DDR5.
Yeah. Okay, so same
And
question. What have you got?
So yeah. So Ryzen 5 7600, Deepcool LT 520.
7600 is that really only the equivalent of the kind of CPUs we were looking at before?
No, but it's basically the same computer because it's got a 6650 XT in it.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got like 25% more CPU performance going to waste because it's a 6650 XT.
So because we're spending £1,000, we've had to go up to an AM5 platform. Otherwise, why the hell are you spending £1,000?
Kind of thing.
And because we've gone up to an AM5 platform, we've basically inflated the cost without actually increasing the performance. So you have to go to 1200 so you can spend more on the graphics card before it starts making sense.
Or you build it in a £33
case.
Whatever it was, Antec.
The Antec, yeah.
Antec AX20.
Yeah. And
save 50 quid there. You buy a slightly cheaper power supply. And then now you've scraped together enough to buy a 6700.
Yeah. And we haven't built in profit into this either.
Oh no, that's assuming like £80 to £90 of profit.
Oh, okay, yep, okay, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like, so you'd have to drop the water cooler. You have to drop the water cooler and just use an air cooler for 30 quid.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just kind of a case of like, it's a horrid budget to build because you just get something that feels really wrong. PLS. What?
Jason says, I build with what's best at the time. Your last upgrade was a 13700K. Yeah, the problem is, like, for gaming, surely a 7800X3D is going to demolish that because X3D. And it's going to demolish that at half the power consumption and half the heat output for probably the same price I would wager. That's the problem with Intel right now. Intel have a massive issue in that the only way that Intel are staying competitive is by using twice the power, which basically means you have to up-spec everything else. Ooh. Yeah, I saw that Gamers Nexus had released an Antec video. I'm certainly interested in them making a comeback because Antec are Old Testament. I'm going to have a look at that Gamers Nexus video over the weekend and just see what they've got. $2080 and a 450 watt. Ugh. That better be a really good 450 watt power supply, because the 2080 can definitely be looking for 300 watts, I think. And that's so if your 2080 might be looking for 300. I mean, if it's not a Ti, then it's probably closer to like 250, 270. But let's be generous and pretend it's 250. That leaves you. That only leaves you with 200 watts available for the CPU and the rest of the system. And your CPU, a decent gaming CPU is going to be looking for 100 to 120 watts. So, yeah, you better trust that power supply is all I'd say. The numbers fit in, but cutting it fine. Cutting it fine.
Right. Doing shuffling. 7600, Peerless Assassin 120, ASRock B650M -HDV.
Yeah.
Kingston Fury Beast 32 gig, 6000. Kingston MV2 1TB SSD, Power Color Fighter 6700, Antec AX20, Fractal Design, Iron Gold 550 watt, £965.
Yeah. See, that's not terrible, and it's worth noting, like, for example, Casey just said, oh, for 1K, going with used components, you could build a 4K capable PC. Yeah, but we're talking about second-hand versus new, and, that is reasonable, and that brings in the question, is this good value for money? Because the problem is a decent person might turn around and say, no, I don't want second-hand. I don't want someone's used stuff. I want to buy something that's new. I don't want someone's leftovers. That's the sentiment that people will have. I've met a lot of people who will just say, no, I will never ever use second-hand parts. I want to buy brand new stuff. So what do you do in that instance? Because also, if I'm selling something in here as well, the same thing will apply. I can sell a refurbished thing, but I've got to say it's got refurbished parts in it. And when I say that to people, when I've sold other PCs, I say, oh yeah, I've got this. This costs this much. It's got great performance. It's got these specs. It's got some refurbished parts in it, but they're all checked. It's all warranted. And the moment you say that it has some refurbished parts in it, they're like, oh, well, I want something new. I didn't come into a shop to buy a second-hand computer. I came in to buy a new computer. So they're going to say, well, if I want to buy a new computer, what have you got that's all brand new, that doesn't have any second-hand parts in it? Therein lies the issue. So, and both arguments are valid. I can then do a pitch to the customer and say, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck if you don't mind some refurbished parts. I strongly recommend it because you'll get way more for your money. But some people are going to say, no, I want new. So what can you get for new then? So yeah. So $1,000 with a 6700 XT.
Feels bad, man.
Feels
bad.
Yeah, especially because I think if you went up to say 1100 or even 1200, which is not that much more. We're talking hundreds of pounds more, but once you get up into four figures, you're now only talking 10% more, and you could probably get significantly more performance. It's a really weird price point. The problem is, I think if you're buying brand new and you want a decent spec PC, really you've got to spend £1,300 or £1,400 now.
There we go. That's more like it. Yeah, that's cut a little bit off. Yeah, basically you'd wiggle some numbers around in some other places and tell them to go up to £1,100, then stick a 7900 GRE in it. So you can do that for $525.
Yeah.
Which is 150 quid. So yeah.
1200 computer is going to be way harder to sell than an 800. Yeah, I agree.
Massively.
This brings us back into the 600 versus the 650 versus £800 problem. Is it's one of those things where you spend a bit extra and you're going to get way more for your money, but you've also got to spend the extra. And if the customer says, well, I don't want to spend the extra, or I don't have the extra, it might be a 16-year-old kid who's been saving up his pennies, and you say, just come back with more money. Stop being poor. Stop being a 16-year-old with a paper round. That's the problem. Is yeah. So it's we can certainly say what's better value for money, but sometimes people are going to turn around and go, well, that's my limit. That's how much I've got. This is how much I have. What can I get for that? And also, yeah, it's the difference between a sale and not a sale. That's the other thing as well, is that if you end up just pricing them out, they'll turn around and say, well, or if you say, I don't have anything in your price bracket, they'll say, okay, then thanks anyway, and they leave. And maybe they'll come back with more money. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll then just go to Facebook and they'll just buy the shitbox from Facebook because that was in their price bracket. And they'll be like, cool, I got a gaming PC for £400. Because they don't know that it's crap. As far as they're concerned, they bought the gaming PC for 400 quid on Facebook when the computer shop said, no, you need 800. Or they buy a console, yeah. So this is the problem, is that, you know, we can get sanctimonious about pure value for money, but also you've got to factor in the real world. And then they come back to the shop with the shitbox, and you may end up then charging them to fix that. But now you're going to feel real bad when they walk in with that, because, man, it sucks having to tell someone that they bought a shitbox. Isn't this cost from building DDR5? Yeah, however...
Not really. It's the cost of the DDR5 is only sort of, you know, 40 quid difference.
Yeah, it's upping it a little bit, but we don't save that much by dropping to DDR4. And if you drop,
really?
and it feels bad to buy, it feels bad to spend $999 on a previous generation system. Will there ever be upgradable consoles?
No.
No. I think I can see us I can see us starting to push in the direction of like annual or 6 monthly console updates, where the console becomes like the latest phone. I could see that happening in the future.
I can't see us getting any faster than 7 or 8 years for console upgrades.
Really? Yeah. I don't know.
Oh,
I
because
mean,
don't forget they're selling the hardware at below cost price.
well, that's the thing. They can't keep doing that because, like,
They can, because they keep selling games and making the money on the games. And then
Well-
Microsoft stopped selling consoles.
But yeah, that's the thing though, is that Microsoft are having a rough time with Xbox. PlayStation don't have any exclusives anymore because Sony are just opening all of their exclusives up to other platforms. So yeah, that it's I don't know. That much being said, we kind of if we're going with the idea that consoles are going to start getting more regular updates, we thought that's what was going to happen with this generation, and there's no sight of that yet. So yeah, consoles will go to cloud before upgrades. That's believable. Yeah.
Right. So completely rebuilding the machine.
Completely rebuilding the machine.
Yeah. Ryzen 7 5700X.
Okay.
Thermalright Pillars Assassin.
Yeah.
ASRock B550 Phantom Gaming 4.
Okay, that sounds tasty. This is a solid mid-range we've got building here.
Corsair Vengeance LPX 3600.
Yeah.
Kingston MV2 1TB. MSI Ventus 4060 Ti 16 gig.
Yeah.
Oracle Scribble ATX mid-tower case.
A Scribble. I see. Just Aerocool things, yeah.
Fractal Design Iron Gold 550 watt.
Cool.
£847 parts price.
That sounds tasty.
Yeah,
that's tasty.
better.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, wildly, the 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte is fractionally better value than the 6700, the RX 6700.
Yeah, and
XT.
you get a current gen card as well. Like, don't get me wrong, the 6000 series is still competitive, but it feels kind of gross building with 6000 series cards on a brand new computer. Like, they're still good, but like, man, do we have to, kind of thing. So yeah, but that's a really tasty spec. That sounds like great bang for buck. Stick that out on sale at $999, sure, and yeah, I think that's pretty good. Would you agree that the 5700 XT is the best value 1080 GPU on the market right now? How much is a 5700 XT right now?
The 5700 XT is too slow, in my opinion.
Yeah.
5700
because that's
XT.
going to be what, the equivalent of a 6600?
Oh, you know what? It's not terrible. 160. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For 160, I guess, but also like personal preference, when you can get secondhand 6600 XTs for 170.
Yeah.
180.
I think that is.
I would rather skip to the 6600 XT, even if it's functionally the same performance, just because it's a generation newer.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to say. I think that 5700 XT. I think that is excellent value for money, and I think that is viable. But I would pay a tenner more to get 6000 series, just because I know I'm saying that because then you're getting a generation newer, and that's a generation up in support, and also just the card is just drastically newer, because also like you got to remember that you can't beat the clock, and old things can and will fail just due to old age.
I mean, and sure, there's nothing saying that the 6600 XT won't do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but
it's also the fact that it's like 26 months newer, kind of thing.
Yeah. So
it's just kind of.
I think that's
on
good.
That point,
I think that does sound like a good value prospect. And also, if you're trying to scrape off every tenner, like if you're trying to build a £500 or £600 PC, you need to scrape off every tenner. So in which case, 5700 XT, that'd absolutely make sense. If it were me, if I were building for myself, I'd spend a tenner extra and get a 6000 series card. However, sure, those are excellently priced right now.
I mean, personally, if it were me, I would pay the extra sort of £15 and get the 6650, the extra £20 sort of thing, and go up to the 6650 XT.
And then it's going to obliterate a 5700 XT.
And then it's going to be sort of a 20% performance swing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, obviously, if you've got a budget of £110, and you're looking at, I've got a budget of 110, and I either have to spend 150 or 200. I'm spending 150.
That's it. And we're also starting to slip into that. Oh, just pay another £10 extra, and you get this instead. And that's exactly what we were criticising earlier.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, but the comment of if it were my money, I would find the extra 20 or 30 pound to go up to the 6650 XT.
Apparently 160 for that is high. What's the sold price on it?
Yeah. I don't know. Those were just the cheapest available for sale.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cooling fan.
You jump over to sold items only, just so we can see.
Sold only. 145, 148, 150, 154. Yeah, 154.
Yeah, 150 then. Yeah.
160, 170.
There was a 120 at the top, so someone got a bargain there. But like that's an outlier.
Oh, that was this year. Sorry, I misread the date and thought it said last year.
Yeah. So, but that's an outlier. So you might, if you keep your eyes open, you might be able to pick one up on the cheap. But 150 sounds like the going rate at the moment.
Yeah. So,
What's smart memory access again?
The thing where you can write into GPU memory in a larger block.
Is that rebar?
So, rebar.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, is rebar Nvidia specific or?
Rebar is Nvidia's name for it.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
In the same way as smart access memory is AMD's name for it, because in the PCIe SIG it's something else.
Yeah,
and that's
fair enough. Yeah,
what the underlying
So smart
thing
memory
is.
access is the equivalent of rebar. So So the 6000 series has smart memory access. 5000 series doesn't. So that could yield a bigger performance gap in certain programs then.
Yeah.
So
but that will be
no
included
game
in
uses
the
smart memory access. Citation needed, because there are certainly games that benefit from rebar.
Yeah.
I don't know if SMA requires additional support versus rebar, but there are certainly a lot of games that benefit from rebar.
They are the same thing.
Yeah. It does vary. Like some games don't care about rebar, but there are certainly a lot of games where you will see, another 10%, another 15% from rebar.
Yeah.
So Intel Arc needs rebar, but per game. Yeah, Arc is weird, man. Arc needs rebar to work.
But
You know?
well,
So,
the comment is resizable bar, smart memory access gives a benefit or not on a game-by-game basis. It does not require the game to support it or not. It depends on whether the game benefits from it or not.
yes, that's what I
It's
thought.
an either a yes or a no on the does it benefit, not
Yeah.
a do I enable support for this feature.
Yeah. If a game benefits from rebar, then it will benefit from smart memory access.
Oh my god.
So, yeah.
Imagine spending €109 on an RX 550. Reploids
Oh,
comment.
no.
I'm just like, oh, that's nasty.
Well, there's still people out there that are like, the RX 580 is still a good GPU. And it's like,
It is. What?
yeah, but also it's a decade old, man.
Yeah. How much are 580s
Yeah, like-
selling for?
Remember, this is kind of like the thing about the 1080 Ti. The 1080 Ti is still a good GPU, but man, I would not be buying one of those because it's just old and it's gonna die.
You know what? For 85 quid,
Yeah.
RX 580,
Yeah.
that's reasonably valid.
Well, that's just it. Like, don't
65 quid.
yeah, but
Oh no,
also-
it's the 4 gig one. Never mind.
yeah, but also also though again, it's got 10 years on the odometer, and the chances of you know, you're going to get a cracked ball under a VRAM chip from thermal cycles or something like that, and it's just going to fall over and die. Because so this is the thing, is just you do get to the point where it doesn't matter how performance competitive it is, old age is going to catch up with it, and just reliability is going to be a major concern.
Yes, okay, it's a XFS model name. That's fine. You know what? If you get one for £80 purchased, yes. I don't think that's horrific. 60 quid, there you go. If you get one for 60 quid purchased, I don't think that's terrible.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're basically what is actually the minimum price of a functioning GPU.
Yeah, and you know, like again, if you were trying to build like 400 or 500 quid, my first gaming PC stuff with just whatever you can get your hands on, that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
The humming in the background is a fan.
Yeah, 90 quid for an RX 590. 65 quid. That kind of makes sense. I don't understand. What?
I wouldn't get a 590 because those were super thirsty, weren't they?
What the hell does working faulty mean? You cannot sell it as working faulty. It's sold as condition used, therefore it must work. But what?
It works. It just crashes every 93 minutes, on like clockwork.
Two of the 4 display outputs don't work. I see.
I mean, if they're selling it super cheap, then
Kind of
okay.
half, but yeah.
yeah, I don't hate that. That would, yeah. Okay.
R9 Fury X for 90 quid. And it works. Ooh.
Oh, actually, the RX 580, how much VRAM did that have? Was that 8 gig?
8 gig. It was an
Okay,
8
yeah,
gig
that's fine.
one.
I was going to
Yeah,
say, because
yeah.
that one's 4 gigs, which is just like, nope, that's dead.
Yeah, but
No,
but
but no, it's got 4 gigs of VRAM,
it's HBM.
which means
That
it'll
counts.
fail. Wasn't a HBM like hysterically unrelaable? That's the very problem with what was the
No.
V Vertex Virex? What
The Radeon 7?
the Vega? Yes, that was the problem with the Vegas, wasn't it? They all died.
Did they?
I thought they did.
Okay.
Isn't the Vega hilariously unreliable? Did I imagine that?
But it's got a liquid cooled fan.
Yeah, because even the fan uses 30 watts. So they've got to cool the fan so the fan can cool the 500 watts from the GPU or something. But yeah. A lot of Vega 7s died in mining. Oh, that was something useful that came from mining then. Get them off the market. Vega was just going through phases. Is that what we call it now? Yeah.
Some of those phases were liquid.
Yeah. One of the top mining GPUs. Yeah, that certainly was what they were good for. Yeah, they were bonkers mining chips.
Yeah, it was all interposer issues. The HBM itself was absolutely fine, but it was the packaging that was the problem.
Yeah, sure.
Because
HBM isn't bad as a concept, but the implementation of it in the Vega was
the packaging in the Radeon 7. It's not Vega, it's Radeon 7.
Oh, okay. Right, sorry. Yeah.
Yes. Vega is not related. It's the Radeon 7.
Right.
That was effectively the first chiplet GPU.
I see.
Because the HBM modules are effectively chiplet memory modules, because they are effectively their own memory controller as well.
Yeah.
And the packaging of that was difficult because AMD dual sourced it, and they had two different Z heights on their cores, but the AIB partners never knew which core height they were getting, so they had to build support for both into the same thing, and thus also there were lots of issues where the HBM would be this high, and then the core would be this high, or this high, or this high.
I see.
So yeah. Oh, did the Vega 56 and 64 have the same HBM issues? I thought it was only.
Oh, that's why I'm thinking of Vega. I
thought it was only the Radeon 7 that had that Z height.
Yeah,
issue.
I wasn't going insane. I was like, I'm sure there was a Vega with HBM.
Yeah. But yeah. If I ever found a Radeon 7, like the original silver cooler, for not £700, I would absolutely buy one.
Yeah.
Because they're very nice.
2080 Super for $150 was a banging deal? I'd say so. What's a 2080 Super cost these days? It's always worth bearing in mind that every now and then you can get an absolute bargain. There's always going to be outliers where someone just loses their brain and puts in the wrong number.
Going to guess £250 based on how much a 3080 is.
No, I think 300. I think it's worth more than. Well, maybe.
Okay.
250. Okay, yeah. Cowdog wins. 250, 267. Yeah.
130? Oh no, because that's a 1660.
Yeah. All right. So what's the recently sold?
Yeah.
Are there any outliers down there?
Buy it now.
Because when you look up the price on eBay, that gets you a ballpark. Then it's always worth checking sold.
200.
Yeah, 200. Yeah, so they do pop up for £200 now and then.
That's a cool one.
So $150. Yes, someone didn't know what they had, or someone was just fire sailing.
Yeah.
Now and then you will get someone who will just sell something at half of its value because they just want it gone straight away. But obviously that's not reproducible. So.
Oh God, imagine.
Just because you bought a 2080 Super for $150 doesn't mean that that's the going rate for a 2080 Super. It means you got lucky, you know.
Oh God, imagine one day, 2080 Super, £209.
Yeah.
The next day, 2060 Super, £170.
Oh. Damn. That's going to hurt, yeah. This is the problem. This is why you've got to look at the whole product stack when you're buying.
Or 2060 Super, £170.
Yeah.
2070 Super, £190.
Yeah. Although the other thing as well is that when you get down to sub £200, we're hitting that price floor.
Yeah.
Where the whole product stack starts to get compressed up against the price floor.
Yeah.
So you've got to check the whole stack if you're spending less than 200.
Yeah.
Because you might be able to spend a tenner extra and get another one up. I thought we were doing new parts. We kind of lost the plot with this stream, if I'm honest.
Yeah, we're
just talking about parts and what you can get, you know.
We've done a list of parts effectively, new
Yeah,
parts,
I was going to say
because
that
this is new parts only.
Yeah, that 999 builds you've done there. I don't think you're going to top that. I think that's really good.
The only thing I would do on this build is I would look at how much I could pick up like a 5600X or 5600 off of eBay for, and see if I could save a reasonable amount there. If I can save 50 quid on that,
Yeah.
I can then take out a chunk from the cost, the actual sell price, and it's kind of a case of the actual gaming performance is 6/10 of bugger all different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're getting very close to what we've got down there, because that's a 5700X. So yeah, we're basically just squeezing down to the cost of that. But also, so at this point, we're saying, so if we're selling that for 800 with some refurb parts in it, we say another £200 and you go up to that, but that's another 200. Have you got 200 quid? So yeah.
Yeah. And also an equally questionable case, because error calls scribble.
Yeah. So how much was the scribble again? Was it like 30 quid or something?
£45.
Oh no, you put it in that Antec for 30 quid
No,
then.
'cause the Antec doesn't accept graphics cards of lengths more than 12 centimetres sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, let's check that. Let's look at that Antec.
Yeah, I can't
again.
remember exactly what the size was, but
Yeah,
I couldn't find compatible graphics cards that were more performant than a 6650 XT.
Yeah. Well, keep this open. Let's bring up that Antec case, because that looked really nice, and it was like 35 quid.
Yeah.
So like is that the new Golden Boy case for cheap builds?
Oh.
If I had a small loan of £999. So what was it again? The
None of it. Fucking compatibility filter. AX20.
So the AX20, cool. Bring up the spec of that. Bring that up on Antec's website. What's the maximum card length it'll take? It does look like it's a short boy case, and I love short boy cases, but yeah, you can run into graphics issues.
Graphics.
Yeah, right.
Specs.
Maximum card length. Fan support, rated clearance. Max GPU length, 270 millimeters. Ooh, 270 millimeters. Yeah, that's
also going to be 270 millimeters with no front fans.
No, that'll be with the front fans, but you can't put a front rad on there, but that will be with the fans, because it includes the fans. So yeah, certainly.
Oh, I misread the DWH, and I was
right, yeah.
How can it fit a 270mm graphics card in 207 millimeters?
Yeah. All right, so 270
yes.
mil. So yeah, what the graphics card that we were looking at on that other page then, on the build. So what graphics card were we looking at? 4060 Ti.
16 gig. It's 308mm.
308mm, yeah. Are there any short boy 4060 Ti's? There must be.
They don't appear to be, not according to PC.
Yeah, because like that's a triple fan 4060 Ti, so I'm not surprised that it's long. There must be a dual fan one out there somewhere that's short. But then would it be as cheap?
The shortest. There you go. There's a short 16 gig one, which is £432.
Oh, but then also, like 270 is the one to build. There's a 200.
Oops.
So yeah, sort by price again.
Sort by length.
Well, sort by price, because then we keep going up until we find one that's short enough, and then we'll find the cheapest short one.
Hold on. Length. 268. There you go.
All right. You and I have different ways of searching for things, and it maddens me, but also they're both valid methods. But I'm just like, Okay, right. So 270, yeah, so 351. What was
Yeah,
the
but
what was
these
the
are
other
all 8
price?
gig cards.
Oh yeah, we're looking at 12 gig ones.
I was looking at the 16 gig ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're at £416.
And what was the previous price we were looking at?
360.
Oh yeah, that's
It's an extra 50 quid.
It's an extra 50 quid to get a short one. Yeah.
It's an extra 50 quid to save.
Yeah.
£7 on the case.
Yeah. No, absolutely, fully valid. Doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
Still confused at a 4060 Ti instead of a 6800.
Because the 6800 was more expensive using new pricing.
Yeah, basically.
Because this is a build using new pricing.
Yeah.
And also all of the 6800s were too big. They were more expensive and bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is it worth getting Nvidia because of better drivers?
No.
No, not really.
It was just because it was a slightly more compact card, and because it was a slightly smaller card, and because it ended up being a smidgen cheaper.
Yeah.
So yeah.
AMD are fine. They're completely fine. Although I forgot to ask you last night, because I was thinking about this last night, because it came up somewhere, and I was going to say we keep threatening to do a graphics card swap. Next week, bring me your 7900 XTX, and we'll swap out, because I want to daily drive an AMD graphics card, because I believe that they're completely fine, but I just want to daily drive one so I can actually say, yes, I daily drove a 7900 XTX for a month and had zero issues after switching from a 4080.
Yeah. The 6750 is also more expensive than the 4060 Ti. New, anyway. Or at least certainly all of the prices PC Part Picker was listing. That's why I was like, what the hell? The 4060 Ti 16 gig is a better value card?
Yeah.
How?
MSI got a 4060 Ti that's 200mm. How much is it though? What's the price on it though? That's the problem. Because there are lots of 4060 Ti's that are short and 16 gigs, but they're also expensive. That's the problem we just ran into.
It must be less than £350 and less than 270mm and have 16 gigs.
Apparently it's 440, but still, that's still that's still too expensive.
440 is more than 360.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. 7950 XT for £330. Yeah.
Interesting. Why is that fighter not appearing for me?
Is the TI version even worth it? Yeah, pretty much, because the 4060 vanilla is a lemon. The TI one actually does work though, especially because there's a 16 gig variant of it.
Huh. Weird.
You ever thought about selling a value proposition rather than just a race to the bottom on price?
Oh, hold on. Yeah, there's an even cheaper 6750.
I mean, we have been talking about value proposition here as well.
Weird. I don't know. I blame Part Picker listing some slightly weird prices at points. But also, at least according to Tech Power Up, the 4060 Ti is faster than the 6750.
Oh.
And that's 336 to 259, 360.
Misheard on the price.
30,
yeah, no problem.
35. Yeah.
It's not value if you can't hit the right price. This is true, but also again, you say about selling a value proposition rather than just a race to the bottom price. Elaborate, because if you're looking at these cards and going, oh well, here's a faster card that is only £10 more, then by all means let's hear it, because I am also I want to sell something that I do think is a good value proposition. We're trying to hit price brackets here because otherwise price creep just kills you. Because we run into the issue of, oh, you may as well spend £10 more on the CPU and get this instead. You also may as well spend £20 more on the graphics card and get this instead. And also, it's only another £20 to double the RAM, and suddenly your price is starting to spiral. So that's the thing we're trying to avoid. But there are specific things here and there where spending that extra tenner does make a lot of sense.
Oh yeah.
The 4070 Ti Super is a must-buy, just so you can say you had it. I hate that the Ti Super exists. I hate it. I've no idea where it falls in the stack. Surely the 4070 Ti Super must be so close to the 4080 that you may as well get a 4080.
That's worth £10.
What are you looking at?
The XFX Speedster Swift 319 Core.
What is that?
The RX 6800. The RX 6800, because it's £10 365 versus 359, and it's somewhere around 10 to 14% faster. And now that we have changed case, it will fit.
Yeah.
I was getting somewhat punked by GPU size compatibility when looking at pricing.
Yes, yeah. So 6800 XT is the better value.
6800 flat.
Oh, 6800 vanilla, yeah. 6800 vanilla. Yeah,
It's,
that sounds good. And
the
again,
value is probably slightly in its favour.
Yeah, and like I mentioned that I don't really want to build with 6000, current generation is a bonus, but then previous flagship area is also a bonus, because when we're talking about the 6800 XT, it's like, okay, well that was the previous gen, one of the previous gen's flagships. You've only got the 6900. Was there a 6900?
Yeah. And the 6950.
Yeah, and the 6950. Yeah. So, but at any rate, we're up into the flagships of the previous generation, and that is points in its favour at that point, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yes. All right. How much is a 4070?
You can find a Ti Super open box for about $700. Lowest you can find a 4080 is $1,000. Interesting. So yeah, I don't know what the performance gap is, but the performance gap would have to be enormous to for the 4080 to justify itself in that case.
The 4080 Ti Super.
4070 Ti Super.
Sorry, the 4080. The 4080 to 4070 Ti Super is a 14% performance variance.
Yeah, and with a $300 price gap potentially. Yeah, the 4070 Ti Super is that makes it sound very good bang for buck.
Yes, going to the 4080 Super, which will be slightly cheaper, because the 4080 Super has the £200 lower MSRP.
Yeah.
Is about 18% faster.
Yeah.
So the 4080 Super is possibly cheaper.
Yeah. Super is better than Ti most of the time. However,
although it also is just a word. So
yeah. Also, though, Nvidia,
you have to look at
Nvidia just play fast and loose with these things. It's very frustrating. Supers are generally the refresh cards. TIs are the release ones, and Supers are the refresh ones. But the refresh is not necessarily faster. It just might come in at a better price point or a better value for money. You know.
That's madness. Do you know how everyone said, "Oh, the 3090 is so fast, you won't ever need a faster graphics card"?
Yeah.
When the 3090 came out, the 4070 Ti is 3% faster.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh. I mean, yeah, 4070 Ti, is that a 16 gig card as well? Yeah, if you get this, yeah.
Maybe?
What? But then the 3090...
No, it's 12.
12, yeah, and the 3090's
Horrifying.
got... Yeah, and the 3090 has 24 gigs of VRAM, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's probably going to help it out in 4K, and it's also going to help it out just in VRAM-heavy games. So, that's, you know, faster with an asterisk on it, you know. but it's not worth ignoring.
It's more just a case of the 3090 came out at, over £1,000.
Yeah.
And the 4070 Ti came out at less than £1,000. Not much less, but less.
Yeah.
And is the same performance or a hair faster. And it's just like, when you look at it in raw FPS value figures, there is some degree of value there. But
in some ways, graphics cards are getting cheaper, but it just depends on how you look at it. You can kind of spin it in any direction.
But the cost to actually just purchase a thing.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing the fact of the 3050 XX50 versioning. We're just seeing basically zero performance uplift at that level.
Yeah, the 50 class is just dead in the water.
And the
at
60
moment.
class is functionally dead in the water as well. Same on the AMD side. It's maybe 1%. Well, the 4060 loses to the 3060 on average by like 1%, isn't it?
And like in a vacuum, that's not the end of the world because these are 1080p cards and we don't need that much performance down there. But the issue is that they're asking for modern pricing for these cards that aren't actually getting better.
So so it's just kind of what we need is those class of cards to increase in performance a lot. And we need the top end to not really increase in performance a lot, to compress the performance stack, in my opinion. As someone who is a owner of the top end of the stack, I'm still kind of going, I need you at the bottom to go up a lot. So yeah.
Why did some dies crack on some of the new models of AMD cards? That was one of the specific OEM, not OEM. What's the AMD Founders Edition called again?
There isn't.
The AMD cards that actually have the AMD brand cooler on it.
The AMD branded ones?
Yeah. Are they
just AMD branded ones?
AMD branded, yeah, because that it was one of the 70 AMD 7000 series cards that had issues with cracking dies, wasn't it?
No. There was a set of 20 or 30 6800 XTs that had dies that cracked that were sent for repair with Chris Fix in Germany. That were cards that were stored in a wet warehouse and then used for mining. Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
And they died.
I was going to say
when they were used for mining.
Yeah, I was going to say I remember it was a non-issue. I just couldn't remember the circumstances around it.
There was about 30 of them, and they died because they were kept in a wet warehouse.
Yeah. AMD reference card. Yeah, reference. That's the one that I was looking for. Yeah.
To be super specific, they are not reference designs.
Oh, yeah, reference design is a reference PCB. And
they are just AMD branded designs.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll call it, AMD branded.
Oh.
We all know what we're referring to at this point. So yeah.
Oh, that's an announcement.
Hmm.
I said, oh, that's an announcement.
Is it?
Yes. It's not relevant to the stream, but it's just a fact. I'm just
okay.
Like, oh, I see. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay then. Fair enough. Speaking of telling me afterwards, we are at the 3-hour marker.
Oh my God, JD, so many things. Oh, I see. Oh, look at JD being.
Last item, and then I think we're gonna wrap up.
Fine. Look at JD part pickering hard.
Right, what's JD come up with then? Because
for £902.50.
Yeah. Okay.
i5 12400F.
i5 12400F. Yep.
Peerless Assassin 120 SE.
Yep.
ASRock B760M-H M.2 micro ATX LGA 1700 motherboard. Corsair Vengeance DDR5 6000 CL36 JD.
1 terabyte.
Kioxia 1 terabyte. Power Color Fighter 6750 XT. Deep Cool CH360 digital. micro ATX case.
Yeah.
Interesting. Deep cool PN 850M. Yeah, cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You could take a couple of quid out of that by swapping the power supply to a less good power supply.
Yeah.
And I think you'd be okay. But yeah,
yeah, that's basically
not bad.
that's basically an Intel CPU equivalent of what you came up with, and
which is somewhere there.
Yeah, and so look at your spec again. Yep, you had a 50.
Yeah, this is a 5700X.
Oh, that was the 5700X build.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it is also
50 quid
it's
cheaper.
50 quid cheaper.
Yeah. Also, was that a 5700X or X3D?
X.
X. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So it's a case of I'd be interested in seeing what because I've not looked, what the performance difference is today between a 12400 and a 5700.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's not an offensive case.
Yeah. I think they're both about equivalent now.
Yeah, they are probably basically identical.
Yeah. Personally, I'd take the AMD build because it's 50 quid cheaper and I'm an AMD fanboy. But I think that Intel build is 100% valid. And also, I would wager that the 12400F is going to be theoretically faster at gaming because wasn't the 12400F one of the secret Screamer Gamer CPUs that was just really competitive for its price class.
Yeah, like it's no faster or slower than any of the 12 series.
Yeah,
but yeah, or you can spend like what was this, £30, 36 pound, and go up to the 12600KF,
ooh,
which is a nice upgrade.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, going to a 12600KF would be a nice upgrade. But just not 999 budget.
Very well. Oh,
Is that
you're
me?
Yeah. Right. Well, past that point,
Yeah.
it's also got the expensive case in PSU. So yeah, you could grind that down to
Oh,
850
yeah,
then,
absolutely.
which is what you were saying.
But yeah, but it was just a case of, all other things the same, it's only about 30 quid to go up to the 12600KF, which gives you a few more recalls and quite a lot more boost clock.
Yes. Very good.
It's nice.
Yep, I've enjoyed this conversation in English. Upcoming vids, I fixed another Minis Forum PC today.
I honestly thought you were going to say, I fixed another MacBook. I'm not a MacBook repair channel.
Yeah.
But...
No, this little Minis Forum thing, it's a X35G. Got a quick and easy fix on that one, so that's going to go out this week. I've got another No Post on Sundays recorded, which is not terribly exciting, but that's the point of No Post on Sundays.
Is it going to get posted tomorrow on Sunday?
No, I'm going to wait and post it next Sunday because I don't want to...
So tomorrow?
Sunday week, asshole. I don't want to do 2 No Post on Sundays in a row. I'm going to try and space them out a little bit, especially because I know that Minis Forum is going to be I think it's going to be a banger. It's a very straightforward repair. Spoilers, it's a capacitor. It's a 10 microfarad capacitor because it's always a 10 microfarad capacitor. However, I still think it's going to be a banger, so I'm holding the No Post on Sundays for Sunday week, so I can put it out, so I can space it out because I know I've got a banger for Tuesday. So yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything else. We'll be back soon. And if you want to hear more of my dumb voice, I'll be live on... I'll probably be live on Twitch tomorrow. I'm possibly going to a family barbecue. I might not be home in time. We'll see.
You might even tell people this time.
Yeah. Check the Discord, basically.
You might even tell people in the Discord.
There'll be a notification in the Discord when I go live or beforehand saying that I won't be going live. See you all soon. Bye!